because the Democratic Party is closing the door on working class Americans. We appreciate it, Alana. More on First Edition, folks, right after the break.
Don't go anywhere.
Nothing is off limits to David Harris Jr. And there's no apologies, because he's armed with common sense, real faith, and the truth. Don't miss him on The Pulse tonight.
Hi, folks, we're back. If you've been injured in an accident that's not your fault and you don't have an attorney, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions and tell you what your case is potentially worth. Pick up the phone, call now.
Humana Medicare Advantage plans. Carry this card, and you could have the power to unlock benefits beyond Original Medicare. These are convenient plans that offer all of the benefits of Original Medicare, plus extra coverage and benefits. With a Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you could get doctor, hospital, and prescription drug coverage in one convenient plan, with $0 copays on hundreds of prescriptions. Most plans include dental coverage, including $0 copays for covered preventive services, vision coverage with eye exams, and an allowance for eyeglasses or contact lenses. Even hearing benefits with routine hearing exams and coverage toward hearing aids. That's more than you get with Original Medicare. But it gets even better, because Humana offers $0 or low monthly plan premiums. You'll also get $0 copays for routine vaccines at in-network retail pharmacies, $0 copays for telehealth visits, and $0 copays for in-network preventive services. Plus, worldwide coverage for emergency and urgent care when you travel. And Medicare Advantage plans ensure your covered medical costs, including all doctor and emergency care, will never go above a maximum out-of-pocket amount that you know beforehand. Imagine benefits like these in one convenient plan. Plus, you'll have access to Humana's multiple large plan networks of doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies. So if you want more from Medicare, call now to see if there's a plan in your area that could give you extra coverage and benefits, including coverage for doctor, hospital, and prescription drugs, plus a cap on your out-of-pocket medical costs. And most plans include coverage for dental, vision, even hearing. A knowledgeable, licensed Humana sales agent will explain your coverage options, answer any questions you have, even help you enroll over the phone. Call today and we'll also send this free guide. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
You know, I'm glad Zoran Mamdani is in D.C., meeting with Democrats, top Democrats. Why? Because then he has to answer for all the rhetoric and the policies he's running on. And you know what? When they all coalesce around him and endorse him, it's going to be like, you know what? Turn on the faucet and watch them all drain.
Yeah, I mean, Alana Austin did a great job interviewing Jerry Nadler, because he clearly thinks that globalizing the Intifada is something he did. Zoran didn't say. I mean, he did say that. There's no equivocation here. It means the eradication of the Jewish people.
Right.
So for him to mince words, it's just really just shows his true colors.
Right. And let me just make one thing.
Greg Laurie, encouraging viewers to know God and make Him known. Harvest, Monday and Thursday at 1 p.m. on the Dove TV. Encouraging and informative.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. This is the place. This is where it happens. Don't turn that down, because you'll be disappointed. It's just all the other guys doing what they do, which is crazy. So anyway, stick around. We'll have some fun and get you informed. Jerry's here. Good morning to you. Happy Wednesday. A lot going on in the news. There always is. We have a ring of smoke around us this morning.
You know, did we have a wind shift or what?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
The big fire south of us here in Siskiyou County, the wind shift, if you look out there, it brings it from the south across the Siskiyous and then it's taking it right up the Cascades. It's kind of bringing it around to the east and then down from the north. The west side of the valley seems to be okay. The east side of the valley's got problems.
Can't see Mount McLaughlin.
Yeah. So we'll keep you updated on that. Good morning to you. Wow, a lot going on in the news. We'll get you caught up. What's up?
Well, first of all, it's National Personal Chef Day.
Oh. She's sleeping right now.
Yeah, I know the deal. I got to tell you the truth, though. You know, Pam is much better in the kitchen than I am. You know, I have something. I'm a breakfast chef. That's what I do. But Pam does the other stuff. But now in the day and age in which we live, where you have all these little short recipe videos where you have these cooking, Pam's cooking has gone to the next level. I'm not kidding you, Pam. Good morning. She's got the little. I know I'm going to eat well when she's out in the kitchen and she's prepping and she's doing all this stuff, and she's got a video going and she's going step by step through a recipe that she found and she wants to try it. It's like it has opened up the door of new culinary delights in my house like I can't even believe. Thank you, honey. Whoa. Yeah, and she's not even my personal chef. Now, you know there is a difference between a private chef and a personal chef.
No.
Yeah, because a private chef usually works exclusively for one client. You have a private chef.
Oh boy, do I.
You know, a personal chef may have many clients. They run their own business or they work for a company. So it's Personal Chef Day today, but our hats off to the private ones too. National Corn Fritters Day. Oh. Yeah, fry up a batch of these crispy, flavorful bites of corn and batter. When's the last time you had a corn fritter?
I'm just thinking about that. Probably when I was in the South.
Okay. Yeah, I had one recently when I was not coming into work. I was laid up.
Yeah?
Trail Babes came and fed me.
Really?
Yeah, and they brought corn fritters.
Really?
Oh, it was wonderful. Thank you, ladies.
Now, they can be done different ways, can't they?
Yeah, they can. Oh, yeah, good point, because the main ingredients are cornmeal, egg, milk, and butter. While they may have originated in the South, corn fritters can easily be changed up with peppers, onions, and herbs to give them a regional or seasonal flavor. So however you want to mix it, have fun, enjoy your corn fritters today. Okay. Also, all I got is stuff to eat. It's National Hot Dog Day. Yes.
Well, I still think we ought to have the Dove Dog somewhere.
Well, you know what? That's perfect because they make hot dogs in a variety of ways, and the Dove Dog would be unique, wouldn't it? Yes.
First thing you do is butterfly it.
Okay.
Okay. And then we could figure out different toppings for you. And hot dog has to be butterflied, cooked on the grill.
For those of you who are not that adept in the kitchen, butterflying simply is cutting it down the middle, opening it up, and then
there you go.
Grill it. Yeah, that's the butterfly.
Yeah.
So, well, did you know that a world record was set for the most expensive hot dog? The California Capital City dog, obviously coming out of Sacramento, sold for $145.49. Featured an 18-inch all-beef natural casing frank from Chicago, served on a fresh baked herb oil focaccia roll spread with white truffle butter, then grilled, topped with whole grain mustard from France, garlic and herb mayonnaise, sauteed chopped shallots, organic mix, baby greens, maple syrup, and even more. But I'll take the $1.55 special from Costco. Thank you very much.
Well, it's still their leader.
It is their lost leader, isn't it?
That and the chicken.
Yeah. Uh-oh. I lost my last sheet.
Okay.
Oh, this is really sad because this is really important stuff. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Did you know that a full jumbo jet tank of fuel is enough fuel to drive a car around the world 4 times?
Say that again.
You fill up a jumbo jet, and of course we're talking about the giants of the sky, a Boeing 747 or the Airbus A380.
Yeah.
A full tank of fuel for them will let you drive 4 times around the world. But I think even more with the Airbus because a Boeing 747's fuel tank capacity is 48,000 gallons. Okay. The Airbus is 82,000 gallons. The average jumbo jet burns roughly a gallon of fuel every second. Every second. Over 1,574 units of 747s have been built, and obviously they were just discontinued. And the Airbus A330 is being called the, well, shall we say,
The gas guzzler?
Yeah, yeah. It's got some pretty impressive specs, but it is truly a gas guzzler, and they say it's what's special about modern aviation. But both of these are kind of obsolete, aren't they? Because they're both 4 engines.
Yes, and of course the 747 is not going to be made anymore, except for the 3 that are on the ramp to be Air Force One.
Air Force One, yeah.
The A380, great idea, totally inefficient.
Oh, is that right?
They can't, I mean, because it carries 100,000 gallons of fuel.
Right.
And it has all these seating capacity in it, they can't charge enough to make that flight work.
You know, it makes sense. And while I was putting the story together, I was looking at some video footage of this particular plane, and there was an A380 that was taking off, and it was at the far end of the runway, and they had the camera here. I watched the whole thing wondering, is it actually going to leave the ground?
Yeah.
It's a stunning thing to watch.
So what they do with these big airplanes, the most fuel consumption is obviously on takeoff and on the ground when they're taxiing, because they have to use a lot of thrust to get that thing to move.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And you don't want to stand in front of it, because you have a picture yesterday where a guy got sucked into it.
Into the jet engine?
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, is the most expensive part, fuel consumption, is takeoff. And then when they get to altitude, you've probably witnessed it, when they get up there, you feel the plane kind of just settle down a little bit.
Yeah.
They throttle back. Because once they're up, unless they're hitting a headwind, once they're up,
right.
They got the lift working, everything's working, and then it doesn't take that much to maintain the speed that they want to do. A lot of companies have they have governors on the pilot's head. In other words, you can't fly so fast.
Okay. All right, yeah.
You get up there, and you're supposed to throttle back, and that saves fuel.
Okay, this is a lot of fuel. Where are the tanks? Are they in the wings, too?
Wings and belly.
Really? Does a full tank in a wing or in the wings, does it affect flight characteristics?
Yes, and so you do, yeah, because you got to, boy, there's a lot here.
Yeah.
So you got weight out there, whether it's in the wings or in the belly, and the fuel consumption has to be done evenly so that what they call the center of gravity of the airplane is maintained. And that has a lot to do with the flaps and the fuel settings and the throttles and all that stuff, because you're dealing with weight and balance.
Right.
And so you want to draw it off the wings evenly.
Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So you don't get a lopsided airplane.
Right.
So it's all. But today's computer world, man alive, it's pretty.
Oh, yeah.
You're just managing computer screens.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
In fact, the #1 problem with flying today is
what?
The pilots' heads are not outside the cockpit.
What does that mean?
They're not looking out the windshield. They're watching computer. Even private aircraft, when they have glass in it, they're flying computers. They're not looking outside. That's the #1 problem with flying today.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, well, let's talk about seat of the pants flying, because obviously you feel what's going on. Is there any time there's like maybe mixed signals going as you're looking at glass and you're feeling something different? I mean, can it ever?
Well, that could be vertigo.
Oh, bummer.
And part of your training is you got to learn how to fly when you feel vertigo. And this is the old saying is trust your instruments.
Yeah.
There's a real great scriptural parallel here.
All right.
There comes a time you have to believe the word when you don't feel like it.
Amen. All right.
And you have to believe those instruments when you don't feel like it.
All right.
Most accidents are guys who try to outthink their instruments.
You know, it's interesting you say that. Yesterday was the anniversary of JFK Jr. going down in his plane.
Classic example. All he had to do, he was flying a, I'll think of it here in a minute. I think it was called a Sedota or something like that. It was a Piper airplane. All he had to do was reach down with his right hand about 1.5 feet and push a button.
Really?
And he'd be alive today.
No kidding.
All he had to do was reach down and push the autopilot and let the autopilot fly that airplane for the next 10 minutes. He would have seen the lights of Martha's Vineyard and landed.
Oh, my goodness.
But he got out there over the curvature of the earth, a black night over water. He got vertigo and drove it right into the ground.
Oh, my goodness.
Well,
on a lighter note.
Yes.
Do we have any weather or anything?
Well, I don't know. What's our day here today? Oh, Chef Day. So you're just a breakfast chef?
I am just the breakfast chef. Yeah, I am. I'm on the grill.
Yeah.
I have all kinds of treats for the morning, and you should see my pancakes. My grandkids only come for one. because they're big.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't keep coming back for more.
Yeah.
It's like I'm filling you up on the first serving.
Okay.
That's
well,
it.
let's see if he did the weather before he made a pancake.
Look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. High pressure continues as temperatures move up. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, sunny with heat advisories and daytime highs in the upper 90s for Vancouver, Portland, and McMinnville, and near 100 in Wilsonville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, sunny with heat advisories and daytime highs in the upper 90s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene, with a light northwest wind and lows tonight in the mid to upper 50s. Sunny skies continue across central Oregon with daytime highs in the low to mid 90s for Prineville and Bend and near 89 in Sun River with a light north wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny with a high near 93. Some patchy fog along the Oregon coast, then sunny and hazy with daytime high temperatures in the mid-70s for Coos Bay, low to mid-60s for Port Orford and Crescent City, and low 50s around Brookings. In southern Oregon, sunny, hot, and hazy for the Rogue Valley with highs near 103 in Grants Pass, 104 in Medford, and 99 around Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny and hazy with daytime highs in the mid-90s. Moving into Northern California, sunny, hazy, and hot with daytime high temperatures near 100 in Wairika, 97 in Redding, near 93 in Chico, and mid-80s in Sacramento with a southwest wind gusting up to 18 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, patchy fog, then gradual clearing with highs in the low 70s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Mostly cloudy in San Francisco, then clearing with a high in the mid-60s. And today in San Jose, sunny with a high near 80. It's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather from Grange Co-op.
Okay, well, there we go. That is not cloud, that is smoke. And it's circling the valley, which is kind of interesting. It's around the edge of the valley this morning. Thank goodness it's not on the ground, but who knows? With the temperature inversion and wind, we could see it drop. But that's smoke from the 3 fairly big fires to the south of us in Siskiyou County that they're still battling. By the way, we only have a DC-10 on the field this morning, and it was flying yesterday, so we'll see how...
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's going around.
All right, well, we hope that you are refreshed when you get up this morning, and with that in mind, Pastor Jack Graham encourages us to spend time with those who refresh us.
But not only renew your faith daily, but relate to God's people. I've already talked about this to some degree, but there are people in our lives who refresh us. Paul talked about this. Imagine Paul needing people, but he did. And he often mentioned names of people who had encouraged him and people who had prayed for him and blessed him. He mentioned one man in particular, Epaphroditus, and he says, "You refreshed me." Isn't it wonderful to be around refreshing people? People who build you up and don't tear you down. That's what God's church should be like. It ought to be a place where we are refreshed by friends and the fellowship of God's church, the community of God's people. There are people who deplete you and there are people who complete you.
So, I want you to know, you refresh me, man. When you laugh, I go, yeah, let's keep going here.
You know, I talked to somebody yesterday, and they were out looking at doing some work up at our house and talking a little bit about what do you do and stuff, and I started explaining a little bit. He goes, "Well, what kind of a show is that?"
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to explain what we do here?
Yeah. They don't believe it.
I like this, though. We try to refresh people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good approach.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I don't know if I ever really explained it to myself.
Yeah.
I think the best way you can figure this out.
Well, that case should be our new
Tune it
promotion.
in.
Try something refreshing.
Yeah.
Tune to the Dove.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
By the way, just a little quick comment. My little brain goes crazy. Do you realize in 1 week we lost Jimmy Swaggart and John MacArthur?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's interesting about that? These are two guys that preached against each other.
Oh, I didn't realize.
So today they're sitting in heaven.
Is there a powwow going
Well,
on?
I'm thinking, gosh, you couldn't go.
Wow.
You couldn't get any more opposite than these two guys.
No kidding. Okay.
John MacArthur, who was probably he defined being Reformed theology. And Jimmy Swaggart, charismatic.
Yes.
And I thought, gosh, I was thinking about that last night because I was reading a little bit about John MacArthur and his legacy, and of course Jimmy Swaggart and his legacy. And I was kind of going back and forth, and I thought, gosh, both these guys now are sitting in heaven this morning. I'm wondering if they, they're just having a little cup of tea and getting along.
Right? Are they on the same street?
Well,
Are they
they're
in the same
probably
neighborhood?
laughing. We were both right.
Oh, I love it. That's a great way.
I always make fun of our good friend, our late friend, Marshall Foster, Dr. Marshall Foster.
Yeah.
He was kind of a blend between hardcore reform and a little bit charismatic. It's kind of like a little country and a little rock and roll,
Donnie and Marie.
Yeah, a little bit of country and a little bit of rock and roll.
I love it.
And I told him, I said, it's some friends of his, and I said, Marshall's in heaven right now. He probably has Arminius on one side, and he has Calvin on the other side. And I thought, isn't he sitting up there going, well, we all made it.
Wouldn't you love to listen in on it? Yeah, man.
But anyway, I, on the lighter side of losing two giants, John MacArthur and Jimmy Swaggart, I thought, well, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
I
like it.
They're sitting down having some biscuits this morning.
Never quite thought of that,
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's take a look at some of the top stories today. And a couple of things are happening. It just never ends with this White House. You just don't know what stick they're going to poke into what fire.
Right.
Well, he poked it into Adam Schiff's eye yesterday. And the president went after Adam Schiff and saying basically he has committed mortgage fraud, much like the judge did in New York.
Oh, I didn't.
And he owns two houses, one in Maryland and one in California.
Right.
And he was playing this Fannie Mae thing. And apparently Fannie Mae is looking into an investigation.
No way.
So anyway, as crazy as this is, Adam Schiff now responds. Okay, and Adam Schiff's little way of saying things, which there's only two people I'd like to see brought to justice in the government right now.
Okay, Adam Schiff.
And Fauci, Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, all right.
That's just my personal opinion. Don't write me a nasty letter.
There's a lot of
I've watched these two guys. Adam Schiff, I think, has committed perjury over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But what did he do? California, being crazy as it is, went out and got elected to take Dianne Feinstein's place, and he's sitting in the U.S. Senate.
Of course.
So anyway, here's Senator Schiff's response to Donald Trump thinking that maybe he's committed mortgage fraud.
So the president today is accusing me of fraud, and the basis of his accusation is that I own a home in Maryland and I own a home in California. Big surprise. Members of Congress, almost all of them own more than one home or rent more than one home because we're required to be on both coasts. So he is using my ownership of two homes to make a false claim of mortgage fraud. But what really is going on here is this is Donald Trump trying to bring about political retribution, retaliation, trying to distract from his Epstein files problem. And the bigger problem, of course, is that this is a terrible abuse of power. A president threatening prosecution or saying that his opponent should be jailed. This is the kind of stuff you see tin pot dictators do. It is designed to intimidate his political opponents and somehow try to silence them. Well, I have news for Donald Trump. This bogus latest attack, this bogus latest call for me to be prosecuted or to be jailed is not going to deter me. I'm going to continue to hold Donald Trump accountable for his corruption, for the terrible harms he's doing to this country. You can count on it.
Okay, so this is an interesting, that's typical Adam Schiff response. Now, there's a couple of things here that are kind of interesting. First of all, it's Fannie Mae crime division looking into his case.
Okay.
And the president just found out about it.
Oh, I see.
The president's didn't initiate it.
All right.
Fannie Mae has.
Oh, so
okay.
Adam's playing a little footloose and fancy free with the truth, as he usually does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number two.
Okay.
Now, this is an interesting thing. Yes, when you get accused of something, you do the Donald Trump thing and you hit back harder.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
The problem with this one is, it's just Donald Trump hatred. He is accusing Donald Trump of doing what the Democrat has always have done.
And he did it in spades.
He just did it right there.
Yes.
So this is kind of interesting. I don't know where this is going to go, but apparently it has legs.
Oh, okay. All right.
We'll see.
Well, I think a lot of people would like to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming up a little bit later on, you are going to have a story about Newt Gingrich talking about how the Democrats really have fallen apart and why. Okay. All right. In the meantime, as you know, the president said to President Putin, you got 50 days to come to the table for a ceasefire, or we're going to put 100% sanctions on you. So you know what Putin did yesterday?
What?
He laughed it off.
Oh.
He basically said, have a nice day, Don. I got other things to do. Your ultimatum calling for his demand to ceasefire in Ukraine within 50 days or the U.S. will impose secondary sanctions is not only quite serious, but no, we're not doing this. Okay. So Putin is slowly getting cornered.
He is, isn't he? Yeah.
Slowly but surely is getting cornered. And I don't know where this is going to go. Okay. But he's getting cornered not only by another story we have here where the president is selling armament to NATO to give to Ukraine. So that's not directly to Ukraine. It's through the NATO system to Ukraine. Okay. And why is he doing this? Well, coming up, General Kane will explain that because this is really. Let me ask you this: if somebody's bombing you, and you're giving equipment to respond, do you just sit on the equipment or do you respond?
You respond.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Okay. All right. Well, okay. The Epstein files. There's another twist.
Here we go. No way.
Yes, you're gonna love it.
Okay.
Are you sitting down?
Give it to me.
Okay. What's the food for today?
Today, what do we eat?
Oh, hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
Okay,
yeah,
we'll put some mustard on it. Here it comes. Okay.
Okay.
Our buddy Alan Dershowitz weighs in on Epstein case.
All right.
Are you ready for this?
Yep.
Here it is.
This is a nothing burger. Almost everything that's important has come out. I've seen the names. There's nobody currently serving in office. There are names of people who are accused of doing something wrong by accusers, but the information about the accusers and negative information about the accusers has also been suppressed. So the public doesn't really have a fair opportunity to decide whether those who are accused were fairly accused or not fairly accused. Now, the media can actually file applications to the judges to try to open up this information. I don't think you can fault Pam Bondi or the Justice Department. They don't have the authority to release these redacted material or the sealed material. I think, I can't know this for sure, that they've released everything that they are able to release. The rest of it is up to the judges. And so the application should be made to the judges, not to the Justice Department. Once the information is unredacted, then the Justice Department can release it.
So there's another whole legal angle to this that nobody knew about.
Do you think anybody on the outer perimeters of the right will listen to this? Because it's causing all kinds of anxiety and angst out there.
Well, listen, human nature being what it is, we always go to the bottom of the barrel.
Yes.
We're basically scum out there. I mean, we don't surf on the top. We dig on the bottom, okay? So we want a list full of people that we can say, hey, you're a bad person. That's human nature.
Yes.
So what Alan Dershowitz has done there, quite frankly, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, should explain that to the American people.
Yeah.
I'm limited to what I can do.
Right.
If you want more information, you can petition the court yourself, and the redacted material could be unredacted and made public. Okay? I did not know that in the procedure that the court, the judge, is responsible here.
I didn't either. Yeah.
I had no idea that. And you're only dealing with what you have in your hand.
Right.
What are you missing?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So he did make one little comment there.
What?
I've seen the list. There's nobody.
Yeah, that really jumped out at me too. Yeah, I've seen it. How did he see the list? Huh?
You know, how come is it you can think shoes and then all of a sudden there are shoe ads on?
That is true. They're still coming at me.
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
We're taking a hot dog break. We'll be right back.
See the stars align, but I know that it's more than timing. I don't hear it goes just happen.
big ideas grow.
Since 1987, Four Seasons Nursery has been the gold standard in the green industry here in Southern Oregon. Tim Albert and his friendly staff continue to offer the best plants and most accurate knowledge to create your dream landscape. At Four Seasons Nursery on Crater Lake Avenue, you can let your imagination run wild with a huge selection of all things plant and gardening for both inside and outside beautification. Whether it's a flower for your windowsill, one of our beautifully renowned signature hanging baskets, or a complete landscape design for your entire property, Four Seasons Nursery can help you every step of the way with design services, workshops, and more. Let your imagination run wild as you immerse yourself in their nursery filled with beauty that knows no bounds. Four Seasons Nursery, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 1/2 mile north of Vilas Road, 541-779-5603, 541-779-5603.
I want those nightmares to go away because every time I close my eyes, every fatal crash, every fatality, every death experience I've ever experienced in my career all came back. I woke up crying because of those dreams and those nightmares. I went into my closet, closed the door, got on my knees, lay prostrate on the floor, and began to weep and cry, begging for the Lord to release the burden off my shoulders.
Tuesday on the 700 Club, right here on the Dove TV.
Okay, good morning to you. Only one thing I want to just bring to your attention today. Dun, 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 dun. We should have some balloons and a little sign, a little fanfare here, and strike up the. Do we have the Dove Orchestra?
The Dove Orchestra.
We need the Dove Morning Orchestra, don't you think? Who was the guy on Johnny Carson?
Oh, Doc Severinsen.
Doc Severinsen. We need a Doc over there. Anyway, today is the opening of the Jackson County Fair, and this is where you're going to go out and have a lot of fun. We absolutely plan this to be on the hottest week of the year.
Every year.
Actually, it's not going to be as hot as it has been in gone by, but it will be warm, and it'll take you through the week. Actually, the temperature is back down a little bit through the weekend. But go on out, see the animals, see the displays, have a good time, and, I really think, seriously, if you have young people in your home, and whether you go to the Jackson County Fair, wherever you're listening and watching, your county has a fair somewhere throughout this year. Take your kids, go to the fair, and make sure you go through the barns.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, beef does not come from Safeway's meat department.
Right.
It comes from those big four-legged things inside that pen.
Yeah.
Okay, take them out there. Anyway, have fun out there and be safe, okay? All right, let's take a look at the satellite image. Here's what's going on with the weather. Severe clear happens. It is going to go up a few degrees and then back down a few degrees. Yeah. But we have smoke today, and that's because of the fires in Northern California and Siskiyou County. The wind's shifting them around, so we're still fighting those fires down there. So be careful, folks. Be careful.
Well, we're continuing to watch the conflict between Putin and Zelensky, and it's interesting because it seems as though our president's getting a little bit, shall we say, impatient?
Well, that's his middle name.
Yeah. Well,
Donald Impatient Trump.
That's right. Well, Fox News senior strategic analyst General Jack Keane discusses whether Zelensky should use weapons given to him against Russia.
Every weapon that we have given Ukraine and every weapon that the Europeans have given them, they're all used to defend themselves against an invasion force. I mean, they have U.S. F-16 aircraft there. There's actually retired F-16 pilots flying some of those airplanes, Americans. That could obviously be considered an offensive weapon. But the reality is they're all conducting defensive operations against an invasion force. And certainly, if there are bases that are providing aircraft, and the Ukrainians can attack those bases where the airplanes are before they fly over their cities and drop the bombs, and they have to wait until they get over the cities to attack them, which one of those is a better answer? I mean, it's obvious to anybody. So we got to get a big picture here in terms of what is really happening. Certainly, Ukraine should never, and they have not been limited to only attack something that's inside of Ukraine. when a lot of capability is coming from Russia itself.
All right.
And certainly their logistical infrastructure is fair game as well.
Okay, so there's one other quick point about this. In days gone by under the previous administration, we gave Ukraine just cash.
Right.
And we had no idea where it went.
Yeah.
And it left a lot of question marks. Okay. So the president comes along, and there's no way he can give him cash now because of the political fallout from that. So he sells armament to NATO.
Right.
And puts NATO in a powerful position to protect Europe. That's what NATO's all about.
Yeah.
Okay, even though Ukraine's not a part of NATO.
Yeah, and that's a big thing in this.
But they have to protect Ukraine because it is the buffer between them and Russia.
Good point.
And so the only thing I can think of is that it's a brilliant move to sell NATO the armament to give to Ukraine that gets the United States out of just arbitrarily feeding Ukraine.
Right.
And Ukraine, look what they did with drones to Russia's airport.
And yeah, absolutely.
So this is going to be added pressure on President Putin that Ukraine's going to be rearmed, and he's facing 100% tariffs from the United States.
Right.
He has painted himself into a corner.
Right, and not only to Russia itself, but to those who support Russia, he's going to put tariffs on them too.
Well, look, Russia and China and Brazil and a couple of these other countries, Iran, their personal economy suffers. And here's the bad part about it. You got men and their egos fighting one another, and their people are suffering.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the bad part about it. But anyway, sometimes you have to go down to go up, and so we'll see what happens there. All right, let's see. Do you like relish on your hot dog?
Yep.
Okay, do you like onions?
Yep.
You like sauerkraut?
Yep.
You like
spicy mustard? Yep.
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 Horseradish?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Why not?
Gosh.
Yeah. Is there something else we forgot?
I don't know. Man. Okay. That's a lot. Would you put it all on at the same time?
Absolutely.
Oh, good. Oh, Iron Gut. We'll be right back.
Bring it on.
Cause I've been set free.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? When you want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life, call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome to Rise Direct Primary Care. Imagine a healthcare experience where you're known by name, cared for like family, and treated with compassion. How is that possible? With an affordable, flat monthly membership, you receive unlimited primary care and minor urgent care visits. No insurance needed. At Rise Direct Primary Care, we offer a friendly, affordable healthcare experience where you get a whole hour with your provider. Located in Central Medford and accessible by phone or text, we can typically get you in the same or next day. We prescribe urgent care medications directly from our office, saving you a trip and wait time at the pharmacy when you'd rather be at home getting better. Personalized medical care with a human touch. Rise Direct Primary Care is all about healing the sick with compassion and keeping the healthy healthy. Rise Direct Primary Care. We're here for you. Visit risehealthdpc.com or call or text us 541-827-8603. 541-827-8603.
Hellgate Jetboat Excursions is throwing it back every Thursday. Book one quick and scenic excursion at regular price and get the second ticket for only $19.59 every Thursday. Glide inches above the river, see the native wildlife, and experience the majestic views of the legendary Hellgate Canyon. Don't miss the best of the Pacific Northwest with our 2-hour excursion. It's Throwback Thursday all season long with our buy one, get one for $19.59. Call 541-479-7204 to book. Some restrictions apply. Visit hellgate.com for details.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Here we are halfway through the week and hot dog day. When isn't it hot dog day?
Yeah.
But you know, this is cool because hot dogs on the opening of the Jackson County Fair. That goes together.
All right. Well, you know what? I may be inclined because I have something being sent to me that today that I haven't had sent to me in weeks, months. Shopping list. Yeah, it's been months, and here I go.
You know what that means?
What?
You're totally healed.
You know what?
His
You're
wife,
right.
Pam would send him a shopping list to do shopping before.
You know
he
what
went
she
home.
said?
But since he broke his leg, he hasn't done that for quite a while.
Yes,
Yeah.
and she said, "You've been milking this long enough."
Yeah, Pam.
She said that.
You know what? I'll get you some tools for your new
overalls.
Overalls. I'll get you a wrench or something.
Nothing says domestic bliss like Carhartt work overalls for your wife. Oh, I love it.
Gosh. He did it.
I did it.
Well, where'd you get the idea?
Yeah, from you.
Okay. All right, let's check in with CBN News Watch.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN News Watch. I'm Ephraim Graham. It is Wednesday, July 16th. I want to begin this half hour in the Middle East, where Israel's prime minister has a razor-thin majority in parliament after an Orthodox party pulled out of the coalition. All of this comes as Israel is striking Syrian forces near the border and violence is surging in the West Bank. Chuck Holton reports now on our top story from Jerusalem.
Israeli warplanes struck Syrian government positions in southern Syria this week, just miles from the Israeli border. The airstrikes targeted regime forces accused of backing tribal militias attacking Druze civilians in Sweda province.
The truth is that the de facto authority is an exclusionary power and cannot execute. The promises it made to European countries and America are contradicted by what is happening on the ground, which goes against all the promises and commitments it made. It is unable to control those groups.
Israel says the strikes were necessary to enforce the demilitarized buffer zone and protect Druze residents. But reports say the bombing campaign was paused at the request of the United States, who feared further escalation. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is now facing a serious political crisis. The ultra-Orthodox United Torah Judaism Party has officially left the coalition over a proposed draft law that would require yeshiva students to serve in the military. That move drops Netanyahu's majority to just 61 seats, barely enough to govern, and it's already sparking celebration among some Orthodox communities.
They want to recruit us in the army and to destroy us. And thank God we welcome them, that they've returned to us. They made the best move they could have done.
The fallout could complicate ceasefire talks with Hamas and give far-right members of Netanyahu's coalition even more leverage to push for a prolonged war in Gaza. And in Judea and Samaria, tensions are boiling. A Palestinian American was shot and killed near Ramallah, prompting Ambassador Huckabee to call for an investigation. Meanwhile, church leaders are accusing Israeli authorities of allowing violent settler attacks after an assault on the Christian village of Taibe.
Simple people, farmers, that they are under attacks from those radical groups, that they take the law in their hands and do all sorts of things, right? And therefore, it's part and parcel of our moral obligation to raise our voice and awareness.
The Knesset is now preparing hearings on full Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria, even as violence across the region continues. From Jerusalem, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
I want to continue our coverage now with Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell. He is joining us. So, Chris, the fighting in southern Syria seems to be increasing. What are the consequences, and what have you heard about atrocities against the Druze there?
Well, it's a very serious development, Ephraim. One thing we have heard in just the last hour or so is that the IDF has hit the Defense Department of Syria, the Syrian regime, in Damascus. And I think that's sending a very clear signal to the al-Jilani regime that if you don't stop these attacks against the Druze in southern Syria, then there's more that will be coming from the IDF. In terms of the atrocities, I've been hearing and seeing videos of humiliation. What these jihadists are doing many times, Ephraim, is that they're actually shaving these people, which is just so humiliating to these people. There's also been videos of executions of the Druze. And so what this is these Islamists, the jihadists, are waging this jihad against the Druze community, which is bringing the Druze community in Israel wanting to go there to defend their brethren. So it's a very serious development. All the while this is supposedly happening, while normalization talks are going on between the new regime of al-Jilani and Israel, and this certainly complicates things and makes you wonder if these normalization talks will actually succeed.
President Trump will be meeting with the Emir of Qatar about a potential ceasefire in Gaza. Could this happen? And what do some say about the role of Qatar in Gaza?
Well, it certainly seems like the Emir is making it a very serious pitch to President Trump to try to bring this what's called a 60-day ceasefire with possible return of all the hostages, or at least some of the hostages, and perhaps what Hamas has been demanding all along is an end to the fighting and also a permanent ceasefire, while Israel is saying that it's a non-starter. The role of Qatar, Ephraim, has been very problematic to a lot of people for many years, is that they have been funding Hamas for years. They host many of the Hamas leaders in their capital of Doha. And so many people have really been questioning the mediating role of Qatar in these ceasefire talks, claiming that they are both the arsonists, setting things on fire by funding and fueling Hamas, and then being the firemen to try to put the fire out and bring along a ceasefire.
Well, that's the mystery here. Qatar, when the president went to Qatar, you're going to go, oh, okay, what's this really all about?
Yeah.
Did he neutralize them or not? Is it the villain, victim, savior thing? Qatar is playing both sides against the middle.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think you can trust them, even though they're giving away big presents like a jet, 747. If you want to give it to us, we'll take it. We'll turn it into a museum or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll see how that all plays out. But things are very tense. And now that you got Syria back into the mix, boy, it's going to be interesting. All right, speaking of getting back into the mix, here he is, Mr. Weather.
Look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. High pressure continues as temperatures move up. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, sunny with heat advisories and daytime highs in the upper 90s for Vancouver, Portland, and McMinnville, and near 100 in Wilsonville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, sunny with heat advisories and daytime highs in the upper 90s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene, with a light northwest wind and lows tonight in the mid to upper 50s. Sunny skies continue across central Oregon with daytime highs in the low to mid 90s for Prineville and Bend and near 89 in Sun River with a light north wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny with a high near 93. Some patchy fog along the Oregon coast, then sunny and hazy with daytime high temperatures in the mid 70s for Coos Bay, low to mid 60s for Port Orford and Crescent City, and low 50s around Brookings. In southern Oregon, sunny, hot, and hazy for the Rogue Valley with highs near 103 in Grants Pass, 104 in Medford, and 99 around Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny and hazy with daytime highs in the mid-90s. Moving into Northern California, sunny, hazy, and hot with daytime high temperatures near 100 in Wairika, 97 in Redding, near 93 in Chico, and mid-80s in Sacramento with a southwest wind gusting up to 18 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, patchy fog, then gradual clearing with highs in the low 70s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Mostly cloudy in San Francisco, then clearing with a high in the mid-60s. And today in San Jose, sunny with a high near 80. It's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather from Grange Co-op.
All right, there you go. Southern Oregon this morning from the east side looking west. And, yep, that is smoke over the top of us coming from the fires in Northern California. So we'll see. It looks like it is doing what we don't want it to do. Yeah. And that's settled down a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on it for you.
Well, there were a lot of challenges in front of our founding fathers, a lot of decisions they had to make. One of them was, where do we put the nation's capital? You know, because we had different locations for the capital early on in our nation's history. And of course, they didn't want it to be in one place that would give a particular state more power than or prestige than another. So it was on this day in history, through an act of Congress, that the U.S. Capitol was established.
On July 16, 1790, Congress passed the Residence Act, choosing a swampy, humid, muddy, and mosquito-infested site on the Potomac River as the new U.S. Capitol. Named after President George Washington, the city was carved out of land between Maryland and Virginia in a new federal zone, the District of Columbia. Washington believed the spot held promise thanks to nearby navigable rivers and its central location. He tapped Pierre L'Enfant, a French architect, to design a grand capital. By 1793, the first stones of the president's mansion were laid, what we now call the White House. But George Washington never lived there. It wasn't finished until 1800 when John Adams and his wife Abigail moved in just for a year. Thomas Jefferson became the White House's second resident in 1801, shaping a new era in the brand new capital, Washington, D.C.
There you go.
Well, there you go. Should D.C. become a state?
No.
Yeah, if you go back to its origin and its purpose,
yes,
it should stay the way it is.
Right. They did it for a reason. Quit messing around with this stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, they want to bring in Guam and
Puerto Rico
and Washington D.C. and
Mexico.
Canada.
No, not Canada. Gulf of America.
They were Gulf of America.
Yeah.
Well, these crazy people.
I know.
All right. Focus on the Family. Of course, a great program. We've been one of the longest Christian media's carrying it.
Yeah.
And anyway, Bill and Pam Farrow were on the show, and they talk about the two key things to make a marriage work.
As a young married guy, guys would tell me, hey, your wife needs to feel secure. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'm strong. I work hard. I'm going to provide. Like, what's so hard about this? But then I realized there's got to be more to this because there's something about it I'm not getting. And so I finally came to the realization that what security means for Pam is she's asking the question every day that she's with me. And the question is it safe to be who I am today around you?
Because we change a lot. Women have plenty of hormones. And so every day is a little bit different than the day before. Then one common denominator is change. Mm-hmm. And so we are asking every day, do you love me as this version today?
Right, because I did notice some days Pam wakes up and she's like the easiest person in my life to get along with. There's other days that she's like really mellow and kind of laid back and don't want to do much. There's other days that everything in life is frantic. We got to get on right now. And then there's just some days in our home where there's a no-fly zone. And the only thing I would say to her on those days is, would you like flowers or chocolate?
Yeah, 70% dark chocolate. Yeah, some daffodils.
So I was noticing it happening, but didn't know how to work with it. Mm. And I had to come to realize that she just needs to hear, hey, the person you are today is okay with me.
Mm. And would you please do the shopping at Costco on your way home?
Okay, dear.
Okay, dear.
Yes.
Okay, we'll take a Costco break. We'll be right back.
The Sherms Market Jackson County Fair is back and bigger than ever. Rock out July 17th with legendary band Kansas, playing all the classics, Carry On Wayward Son, Dust in the Wind, and more, presented by People's Bank. Then on July 18th, it's Skillet Live. Hear hits like Awake and Comatose from the multi-platinum, Grammy-nominated hard rock band. The Jackson County Fair is the place to be this summer. Fun for the whole herd. Get your tickets now at theexpo.com.
Chris Silva understands your home and your commercial buildings are two of the largest investments most people make in a lifetime. One is for your family, the other is to support your family financially. That is why Chris Silva Painting goes the extra mile to protect both homes and commercial buildings with proper painting preparation and high-quality primers and paints. Serving Southern Oregon since 2006, this family-owned and operated business has painted over 1,000 homes. Chris Silva Painting offers an industry-leading 5-year warranty that covers materials and labor on all painting projects work for both residential and commercial buildings, both interior and exterior painting. Chris and his crew are courteous, they are efficient, organized, timely, and clean. Chris Silva Painting also offers military discounts. At Chris Silva Painting, our mission statement is to bring Christ's heart and principles to our customers and our job sites. We do that with honesty, integrity, and hard work. We don't cut corners, we paint them. CCB number 176097. Chris Silva Painting, 541-890-3960.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go, So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Welcome back. 10 minutes before the hour. Question, you ever get mad?
No. When was the last time I got mad?
Okay.
That's the question. Yeah.
Okay, is it okay to be angry?
I think it has a lot to do with what you're angry about.
Well, let's say you're angry by an injustice. Maybe you're angry by, you've had a PTSD moment in your life, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You've had a real shocker.
Okay.
And you get angry about it.
Right.
It's one of the emotions you go through. Well, actually, Dr. Tim Murphy, I had him on. He's a neat guy. And I said, is it okay if I am suffering from an emotional whatever to be angry about it? Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I like to tell people it's okay to be angry sometimes, but it's never okay to be mean. And that meanness means lashing out at someone else or yourself. But what happens in a situation like this, spouses may be angry at each other, they may blame each other. A tragedy that may affect a family may be a baby may be born with severe trauma, physical trauma to them, and other difficulties. And sometimes a spouse may lash out at the other, blaming them, or some other occurrence may have maybe a financial disaster or something else, and the anger will be there. I understand that from a standpoint. Anger is this emotion that comes when I need to fight back, but I don't know where to fight, or they direct that anger at someone who may or may not have any impact upon it at all. Sometimes it may be a person who caused the trauma, and being angry at them is, well, that's expected. That's the way of defending yourself. But a lot of times we're angry at others and things that had nothing to do with it. We're just venting this emotion. And so having it just haphazardly going out and attacking other people is not a healthy thing. And the reason I said it's sometimes okay to be angry, it's never okay to be mean, is emphasis on this sometimes. Sometimes, like, if a child's angry about something that didn't go their way, it is to correct them. It says nothing you've done has affected this, nothing you can do will change this, but you still can't beat up your brother because of this or something else. So anger is a reaction, but we don't leave it there. We don't leave it to the point of now you can hurt someone else and cause this chain reaction of aspects there with the anger.
Yeah.
Anger.
Good stuff.
You know what I've noticed inside of those parameters is that I think when it comes to anger, Pam's memory is better than mine right now, because I'll do something that'll make her angry, and I'll go on and do something, and then I forgot I made her angry, and I'll go into the room and I'll act like nothing happened. I'll go and hug and she's like, "What are you doing?" She hasn't forgotten. I forgot. It's like, okay, let's refresh your memory, big chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a word for that.
What?
Stupid.
Yeah, I know. It fits. Yeah. Oh, well.
Okay, well, listen, coming up, George Barna, Dr. George Barna will be with us. Always great to have him around. And we're going to be talking about the dramatic decline of biblical worldview across the country. You know, when he first started this, he weighed in that Christians in America only 8% had a biblical worldview.
Oh, wow.
He refreshes the research 4 years later, and guess what it is?
What?
It's now a whopping 4%.
Whoa.
And what's the cause of this? Well, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that coming up a little bit later on.
All right, well, this is sweet. Jennifer McMullen, who is an original Rosie the Riveter, is turning 100 years old this weekend.
This Sunday, Jennifer McMullen turns 100, and right beside her, her husband of 78 years, Mel, age 99. Born during the Great Depression, Jennifer helped her family sell eggs door to door, then went on to help build fighter planes during World War II as one of the original Rosie the Riveters. She worked nights at Lockheed, raised 3 sons, led the PTA, volunteered with nearly every civic group in town, and still found time to explore the world, from Antarctica to Machu Picchu, even Cuba in her 90s. But her greatest adventure? A love story that began when she rented a room from Mel's mom during the war. 6 weeks after they met, they were engaged. That was 1946. Today, they're among fewer than 1,000 U.S. couples married 75 years or longer. They live happily at Oakmont of Whittier, where Jennifer, now vice president of the Residents Association, says the secret to life is simple: find a good man, keep reading, and enjoy life. And her birthday wish? Just keep things the way they are.
Okay, so let's see here.
They got engaged.
Did you learn
6
anything
weeks.
from that?
People said Pam and I rushed
Pam
into
the Rosie the Riveter?
Yeah, in many ways. But yeah, people say Pam and I rushed into our marriage too, but nothing like this one. We had a few months. They had a few weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
6 weeks and they were engaged.
6 weeks and they were engaged. But that was interesting too. She was renting a room from his mom. That's how they met. That's interesting.
Well, there's a lot to be said about that generation.
Yes.
They called it the greatest generation, on earth.
Or the silent generation too. Yeah.
The silent generation. They just dropped everything and went out and fought for freedom.
Yeah, and they didn't really talk much about it. Yeah,
nope,
they just
came
did
home
it
and kind of buttoned up their lip and rebuilt America into what was the great revolution, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Economic revolution.
Yes, indeed.
So anyway, it's 78 years?
78 years. How about that?
Wow, what do you do with that?
Yeah, celebrate.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, stick around. Again, Dr. George Barna will be with us, and then we're going to Skype in Ruthie Bloom from Israel. As you know, she was an aide to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and now she's a chief contributor to the Jerusalem News Syndicate. So Jewish News Syndicate. We'll talk to her. Okay. I take with you today Colossians 3:15, and let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body. And be thankful today. Okay? Let the peace of Christ rule you today, not the peace of a hot dog, even though it's a hot dog day. I'll take a piece.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Looking for the perfect RV adventure?
Team Toner's got you covered from home to Homes on Wheels.
Discover unbeatable deals only at American RV in Southern Oregon.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
The most challenging things that happens when you're doing interviews is you interview somebody that their answer is yes, no, yes, no. Those are very, very difficult to do. And you hope it's over real soon. Then you have those that you ask a question to, and they just go on and on and on. I mean, you could literally leave the set, go out and have a hamburger, and come back, and they're still answering the question.
Focus Today, weekdays at 8 on the Dove Radio and TV. Alex McFarland addresses the hard-hitting questions about faith, morality, and culture.
We are to present, explain, defend the gospel.
Watch Alex McFarland Tuesdays and weekends on the Dove TV. Unchanging Truth in an Ever-Changing World. Turning Point with Dr. David Jeremiah. Weekends on the Dove TV. Encouraging and informative.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. This is the place. Everything else is fake.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we'll see. All right. Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Wednesday. A lot going on in the news. There always is. We have some warm temperatures and smoke is in the air. We'll talk about that coming up in just a few moments. And a lot in the news. Anything special today?
Well, yeah, smoke is in the air, but it's not because of anything cooking. And it's National Personal Chef Day.
All
Your
right.
personal chef has got stuff smoking. You got the wrong personal chef. But,
All right.
So we're looking at the difference between a personal chef and a private chef. A private chef usually works exclusively for one client and typically lives in a person's home or in the property. That's like some of us have. And then a personal chef may have many clients. They may run their own business or work for a company, but either way, enjoy whatever your situation is. I mentioned before that Pam is par excellence in the kitchen, especially with all the advent of the cooking videos. It's interesting to watch her try new recipes with a video going as she's chopping and prepping, and it's fantastic. And I continue to make breakfast, and that's it. Moving on, National Corn Fritter Day, encouraging us to fry up a bunch of these crispy, flavorful bites of corn and batter. And it had been a while since I had some, but a few weeks ago I was blessed with corn fritters in a meal that was brought to me when I was all laid up. That's a wonderful thing.
The Trail Babes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Thank you, ladies.
is the corn fritters healthy?
Well, they're really good, so probably not.
Yeah, the old saying is, if it tastes good, spit it out.
Yeah, right. I don't know. They can't be bad for you. It's good stuff. What's in there? Well, it's cornmeal, egg, milk, and butter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, too much of any of that'll kill you. Anyway, it's also National Hot Dog Day, celebrating a summertime staple on a bun. And they come in many different forms. Oh, my goodness, you can just go hog wild with hot dogs. And speaking of which, in May of 2012, a world record was set for the most expensive hot dog. It's the California Capital City dog. Sold for $145.49. It had all kinds of stuff on it, but I'll just take that $1.55 special at Costco.
Well, I've always wanted a little like a Airstream trailer turned into like a little portable kitchen.
Yeah, like like a almost a food truck, food trailer.
Yeah. And there's only a couple. I'd keep the menu simple. Okay, we would offer Dove dogs.
Okay.
And Dove coffee.
Okay, but there are many different ways to prepare hot dogs.
Okay, the Dove dog signature that all the hot dogs would be butterflied on a grill.
Okay.
And then what you put on top of it from there. You know, it's up to you.
Yeah, right.
You could have the Amen dog, the Hallelujah dog, the Revelation dog.
Oh, I would love to see the ingredients for each and
You could have the Genesis dog, which is just, a dog and a bun and nothing on it.
We need a staff meeting. We need some planning.
Okay. That would be the Dove dog menu. Okay. And then on the coffee side, of course, Steve was going to head that up.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But anyway.
All right.
All right. Well, so much for that.
Okay, let's go flying. All right, time. We're looking at fuel consumption for jumbo jets. Did you realize a full jumbo jet fuel tank has enough fuel to drive your car around the world 4 times? And of course, we're talking about the giants of the sky, the Boeing 747 and the Airbus A380.
Right.
The average jumbo jet burns roughly 1 gallon of fuel every second. And, of course, we're looking at both of the jumbo jets. The Boeing 747 has been discontinued, but I didn't realize they built almost 1,600 units of the 747.
Yeah, it was a very popular jet.
Yeah.
And the only ones remain to be built are going to be the new Air Force Ones.
Okay.
And you do want the president probably in a 4-engine aircraft.
Yeah, and that's the big difference now is both of these jumbo jets seem to be obsolete or going obsolete primarily because the 4-engine aspect of it. They're going primarily to 2 engines, right?
Yeah, I mean the 2-engine thing. I flew on a 767. to New Zealand one time for board meetings, and I was a little nervous. I thought, well, you only got 2 engines out there.
Okay.
But it's fine. It flies high and fast.
Okay.
But, these things there, I don't think they are as efficient. They thought if they could carry more people, they could charge more money and get greater volume.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, a 4-engine aircraft that burns a gallon a second.
Yeah, a gallon a second.
Okay, and it's got 4 engines, and it costs a gazillion dollars to buy it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the ROI on that just isn't there.
Yeah.
And so I just don't know how they can, because flying it's one thing, maintaining it's something else.
Right.
You know, I'm going to guess. I'm just going to guess, and I don't think I'm too far off. It's probably $30,000 to $40,000 an hour to fly the A380.
Oh my goodness! Really?
And what you take into that is maintenance, fuel, insurance, all this other stuff.
Okay. Now let me ask you this: so the 747's been discontinued. There are still obviously a lot of them out there.
Yeah, but they're you know what's going to happen to them?
What?
They're going to quickly go away because the parts department is slowly running.
Well, that
out of
was
parts.
my question. How do they maintain them? How does that work?
Well, you got to buy parts.
Yeah, and if they're not making the plane
If they're
anymore,
not,
do they? Yeah.
and they start discontinuing things that were only made for the 747. Now, some of the stuff is universal. A rivet's universal.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, maybe even an engine's universal.
Okay.
But all the other stuff. But moreover, they aren't that efficient. I mean, they were great aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
And they were the king of the sky for a long time, but now they're just...
well, and now that they're going to 2-engine aircraft like this, are those engines more powerful?
Yes.
Okay.
And the aircraft I've never been on one, I'd like to at least see it, is the all carbon fiber 787.
Oh.
That is a beautiful
Really?
airplane.
Okay.
And a couple of them have been customized for to be privately owned.
Okay.
2 of them have sat out here on the tarmac where they made the business deal, where Boeing flew it here.
Yeah.
The buyer came here. They
You're
made
kidding.
the deal, and then the buyer took the airplane home. It was done.
Here?
Yeah. Twice that's happened that I know of. It may have been more, but I've seen 2 of them out there. Yeah. And I'd give anything to go in there and look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Okay.
Oh, it's one of those bucket list things.
Yeah.
All right. Well, bucket list, here he is.
Look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. High pressure continues as temperatures move up, so today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, sunny with heat advisories and daytime highs in the upper 90s for Vancouver, Portland, and McMinnville, and near 100 in Wilsonville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, sunny with heat advisories and daytime highs in the upper 90s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene, with a light northwest wind and lows tonight in the mid to upper 50s. Sunny skies continue across central Oregon with daytime highs in the low to mid 90s for Prineville and Bend and near 89 in Sun River with a light north wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny with a high near 93. Some patchy fog along the Oregon coast, then sunny and hazy with daytime high temperatures in the mid-70s for Coos Bay, low to mid-60s for Port Orford and Crescent City, and low 50s around Brookings. In southern Oregon, sunny, hot, and hazy for the Rogue Valley with highs near 103 in Grants Pass, 104 in Medford, and 99 around Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny and hazy with daytime highs in the mid-90s. Moving into Northern California, sunny, hazy, and hot with daytime high temperatures near 100 in Wairika, 97 in Redding, near 93 in Chico, and mid-80s in Sacramento with a southwest wind gusting up to 18 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, patchy fog, then gradual clearing with highs in the low 70s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Mostly cloudy in San Francisco, then clearing with a high in the mid-60s. And today in San Jose, sunny with a high near 80. It's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather from Grange Co-op.
All right, there we go, and a picture of our valley, and the smoke is coming in. Let me just let you know, where's it coming from? Most of it is from Northern California and Siskiyou County, but we do have some fires in Southern Oregon. The Hagel fire is 523 acres, the Holcomb fire is 35 acres, the Soda fire is 60 acres. And then you cross over the border, the Demick Gulch fire is 260, the Summit fire is over 700 acres. And here's the big one, the Butler fire down in Siskiyou County. pushing 9,200 acres, and the Green Fire is at 15,437 acres. Most of those are down in Siskiyou County. So the wind shift has brought that smoke back over the mountain, and that's what we're dealing with out there.
I think we kind of figured it was only a matter of time. We'd been kind of fortunate so far because there are a bunch of fires out there, so we'll keep an eye on it. But, it's interesting. A lot of folks on social media, you look at social media and you think, well, there's some good things to it. Unfortunately, especially since the last election, there's some people that just kind of lost it, and they're kind of camped out on the negative emotions that they have, and there's a lot of, shall we say, toxic messages that come out of those. Yeah. Well, here's Pastor Jack Graham encouraging us to rid ourselves of toxic emotions by getting into the presence of God.
Fourthly, remove toxic emotions. As Christians, we need to get rid of those toxic, deadly emotions of fear and worry and anxiety and anger. And here's a big one, self-pity. Because these drain us, you see. And the only way I know to get rid of these negatives is by the positive of getting in the presence of God, to learn to rest, not worry, to pray and not worry. Sound good? I can't tell you how often I've been bone tired. And yet, a time of prayer, or a verse of Scripture, or a simple song, or a hymn, or a passage that I might read in a devotional, or a word of encouragement from a friend, or a line that I may write in my daily journal, a promise in God's Word. I can't tell you how often, when so tired, to be lifted, and the burden rolls away.
Give out of your need today. If you need to be encouraged, encourage somebody.
Yeah.
If you need to be just a little pat on the back, pat somebody on the back today. Give out of your need and watch God turn that around into meeting your need.
That's a great perspective. That really is.
Yeah, and I think we got to start getting happy.
Yeah.
I mean, the senility in Christianity is a cancer, in my opinion, and we got to get rid of it. So anyway, be happy. Now, remember, you're a billboard sign for heaven.
That's a great way to think about it. Yes.
So,
wow.
If they read you, do they want to go?
Lord, help us better represent you.
Okay.
Yes.
Amen. Let's take a look at some of the top stories this morning. And this is kind of the flip side because we have to go from that to news. And you know what's interesting about news? Nothing about it's good. No matter what story you look at, you're going to come up with something. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So it has a lot to do with your attitude.
Yeah.
This is an interesting story. The president, you don't know what stick he's going to stick into what fire.
Yeah.
So, but he did say, now I want to set this up, that he said that Senator Adam Schiff from California, remember he was in the House, he was part of the Russia conclude.
Oh yeah, I have the evidence. I'm going to show you. We never saw it.
Never saw it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's quite a guy. And so now he goes over to the Senate. California was crazy enough to put him in take over Dianne Feinstein.
Let's reward him for his past incorrect...
So he's sitting in the Senate. Well, apparently he's got a problem, and he's blaming the president for it, but actually this came from Fannie Mae Financial Crimes Division has investigated Adam Schiff of possible mortgage fraud, and then the president hears about it and pokes him with it.
Yeah.
Well, that just sets his light on fire.
Yeah.
So Senator Schiff decided to respond to the president supposedly opening an investigation against him when really it's Fannie Mae.
Right.
And here's what he had to say.
So the president today is accusing me of fraud, and the basis of his accusation is that I own a home in Maryland and I own a home in California. Big surprise. Members of Congress, almost all of them own more than one home or rent more than one home because we're required to be on both coasts. So he is using my ownership of two homes to make a false claim of mortgage fraud. But what really is going on here is this is Donald Trump trying to bring about political retribution, retaliation, trying to distract from his Epstein files problem. And the bigger problem, of course, is that this is a terrible abuse of power. A president threatening prosecution or saying that his opponent should be jailed. This is the kind of stuff you see tin pot dictators do. It is designed to intimidate his political opponents and somehow try to silence them. Well, I have news for Donald Trump. This bogus latest attack, this bogus latest call for me to be prosecuted or to be jailed is not going to deter me. I'm going to continue to hold Donald Trump accountable for his corruption, for the terrible harms he's doing to this country. You can count on it.
Okay, so that's his response. But got to keep in mind now, the president heard about Fannie Mae doing the investigation. Okay. There's a couple of other things. Well, most people of Congress, have two homes, one in the city and one back in their district. Well, that means we're paying them too much.
Yeah.
Why don't we have congressional dormitories?
Yeah. That's a good question.
Why don't we? Yeah. Why don't we just have congressional dormitory so you don't go there and put down roots and call it home?
Yeah.
You go there and serve and go back. Yeah. Now, they could be nice buildings. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about an Army camp dormitory, but you could have some nice apartments for these people to live in for a while. Go back. But anyway, I read the story a little bit deeper, and yes, he fooled around with his mortgage in Maryland.
Okay, yeah, right.
To make it look better to what he was trying to do in California. Yeah, it's the same thing that the, what's her name in New York did. That's now got caught short. The prosecutor in New York.
Oh, Letitia James. Yeah.
So
right.
anyway, so what Schiff does is he comes out and he tries to be proactive and hit it back. That's a Trump thing, which is kind of interesting, using Trumpism to protect himself. Mm-hmm. I got a funny feeling this has legs.
It could, yeah.
There's only two people. I don't. It's this retribution. I don't know what you call this. But as I look back on the messes that we have been through lately, there's only two people that I think need to really be called on the carpet.
Okay.
He's one of them.
Yep.
And the other one is Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, Russia has been given 50 days to come to the table and create a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. And the president is using NATO to put more pressure on President Putin. The president is giving NATO a bunch of selling NATO the equipment to give to Ukraine to defend itself, which really should be part of NATO's strategy, because the raw ground between Europe and Russia is Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, but President Putin said, have a nice day. He blew it off. So he blew the 50-day thing off. Well, the 50-day thing is ticking.
Yeah.
And so what will happen on this is the president, if he doesn't come to the table, two things will happen here. Meantime, Ukraine is going to be rearmed. And he's going to put 100% tariff on Russia, along with people who support Russia.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with that is, I get tariffs, I totally get all this, but the people who suffer here are the citizens.
Yeah.
By guys who are their leaders that just have big egos that can't get along. Mm-hmm. Okay, so anyway, we'll see where that one goes. All right. Back to Epstein files.
Okay.
Now, why isn't this story going away?
This has really got people worked up, and I'm not sure why.
I think I do. I think it's a human nature thing.
Okay.
Humans love salacious stories.
Yes, we do. Well, look at that's why we have the National Enquirer.
See, and that stuff sells.
Yeah, big time.
And it makes good TV shows.
Yes.
And hearsay and gossip. I mean, we gravitate to the very thing that we should. So people like dirt.
Yes.
And they think that there is something in this file that your pizza's done. Anyway, what do you do with this story? Okay. It got people upset because the president basically, or I should say the attorney general say, we're done with it.
Yeah.
And it's really upsetting. Well, guess who weighs in? Our buddy.
Oh, your buddy.
My buddy.
Yes.
Oh, he's not my buddy.
Yes,
I've had him on. No, I've had him on the air 3 or 4 times. Okay. And I greatly honor that. But however, we're not buds.
Okay.
Alan Dershowitz weighs in. And here's what he had to say.
This is a nothing burger. Almost everything that's important has come out. I've seen the names. There's nobody currently serving in office. There are names of people who are accused of doing something wrong by accusers but the information about the accusers and negative information about the accusers has also been suppressed. So the public doesn't really have a fair opportunity to decide whether those who are accused were fairly accused or not fairly accused. Now, the media can actually file applications to the judges to try to open up this information. I don't think you can fault Pam Bondi of the Justice Department. They don't have the authority to release these redacted material or the sealed material. I think, I can't know this for sure, that they've released everything that they are able to release. The rest of it is up to the judges. And so the application should be made to the judges, not to the Justice Department. Once the information is unredacted, then the Justice Department can release it.
All right, so that is a point to this. If we want to dig down on this, there is a little bit of thing. Okay. Who did the redacting before the Attorney General got the material?
Yeah.
And is the redacting material unredacted to the Attorney General, but remains redacted to the public?
Right, yeah. Okay.
I don't know the answer to that. I need to ask John O'Connor that one.
Yeah, and ask him another question. How did he get a look at the list?
Well, see, and I think I know why.
Why?
Because at one time, Dershowitz was Epstein's attorney.
Oh, okay.
If you remember, Dershowitz was accused of being on the list, and he fought back and won.
Yeah.
He sued.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's just, this thing is really messy, but the salacious part of our human nature is we want to see the dirt.
Oh, we do.
Okay, and that's got a lot of people upset.
Yeah.
But the question I have is, can the Attorney General release redacted information, or is it a matter of statute that before the redacted becomes unredacted and everybody sees it? I don't know but what Dershowitz is saying there is, if it's redacted, then it belongs to the court, and you have to petition the court to get it.
Okay.
If I understand that correctly. I don't know. Do you like a milkshake with your hot dog?
Absolutely. Why not?
What kind?
Chocolate.
Chocolate milkshake with a butterfly hot dog, and what do you want on it?
Everything. Everything, and then top it off with some hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah. Do you like chili dogs?
Yeah, it's a certain time of the year.
Yeah, that's good too.
Okay. I don't like chili dogs in the summertime.
Okay. Well, you got to be careful in the summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets hot.
But if you really want your dog to stand out, butterfly it on a grill. Why? We'll tell you why in just a moment.
My Savior's arms were open wide, and I felt love for the very first time.
Grange Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Perry Atkinson.
I learned this from the late Rush Limbaugh. I interviewed Rush Limbaugh a couple of weeks before we moved to Southern Oregon in 1983. And I asked Rush Limbaugh the question, I said, what is the key to your program? And he said 2 things. He said, one is be comfortable in making fun of yourself and having a good time. And the other one is, when you have a guest on, remember they're the star, you're not. It always stuck with me. Welcome back, 24 minutes past the hour. Well, we only have one bit of local news, and it's a big one, and it's an annual one, and we perfectly time it to always being towards the hottest week of the year.
Yes, we do.
It's called the Jackson County Fair opens today, and it's only going to be 104. Hey, maybe that's what it's all about.
Okay.
Get your snow cone and go. Okay, make sure you visit the barns and see all the animals. Take your kids over there so they understand that hamburgers don't come from Safeway.
That's right.
Okay.
The barns always smell better with heat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let them pet a cow, a sheep, a pig, whatever. Anyway, Jackson County Fair opens today, and that's why I think you want to have a hot dog while you go out there. You may want a corn dog, and you may want some, this is where the snow cones sell a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It's just raw sugar on ice.
On ice, right. Yeah.
But anyway, go out to the Jackson County Fair. It runs today through the weekend. Great entertainment across the board. Great family. Thank you for organizations and foundations that provide for the parking and actually sponsor this. I know Thunderbirds and Food for Laughter are usually the two big sponsors.
Yeah.
God bless you guys for your community involvement. Always doing a wonderful job. So have fun. Go out there. All right, let's take a look at Wall Street real quick.
All right.
Thank you, Preston. Smart lawn, and you don't have to water it, you don't have to mow it, you don't have to fertilize it, you don't have to edge it. Anyway, the Dow's up 44, the Nas is off 31, and the S&P about even. So nothing rattling the cage this morning. So that's kind of good. Gold's about where it's been, 33, 32. Silver's pushing 38, but it's down a few pennies, 37.92. And crude oil down, actually it's down about 50 cents, 66.26. There you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking up gas prices, and I bought yesterday too.
Yeah.
And it really didn't work out very well for me because, do you realize? Yeah, I paid $4.50 a gallon yesterday for diesel.
Well, I tell you what,
$4.50.
have you looked at the prices in California?
Not recently, but I have. It shocked me the last time I
don't know what you people are putting up with down there.
Yeah. Right.
Look, something's wrong. Something's really wrong. I mean, you're talking almost $5 a gallon for regular.
Yeah. Well.
And the freeways are packed full of people.
Yeah.
I mean, that is now becoming a major portion of your budget just to get to work.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot being exposed here, too, because of the difference in prices between states and especially between the West Coast and the East Coast. I mean, significantly different.
Well, if you like that, then re-elect Newsom or
right. Well, look at it's the left coast is it's all blue.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, and speaking of blue, since they augured in the last election cycle, Democrats are kind of astray right now. They're looking for leadership, they're looking for a cause, and they're kind of in the tall weeds on both. Well, former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich discusses the Democrat Party's struggle to find leadership and direction on Hannity.
The Democrats, I think, have trapped into two things. One is they hate Trump so much that they're incoherent and they run in circles and do stupid things. And then second, they have moved even further to the left. I mean, Mandami, as a Uganda-born Indian American who is a genuine Marxist, who says stupid things like he doesn't like billionaires. Well, who's he going to tax to get the money for all of his free goodies? Because the billionaires are all going to leave. And you watch Mandami, you think, this is a man who's going to turn New York into Caracas. And I think for the country, if that's the future of the Democratic Party.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm really serious. You take all.
I know you're serious. He sounds like he is a Marxist, a statist.
He is in a great tradition. Juan Perón, who destroyed the Argentinian economy, Fidel Castro, who destroyed the Cuban economy, Hugo Chavez, who destroyed the Venezuelan economy. And these are people who've been brainwashed. These aren't educated young people. These are brainwashed young people. They believe things that are stupid because that's what Harvard and Princeton and Yale and elsewhere taught them. And so they walk around going, oh, yes, we can have grocery stores run by the government. That'll be terrific. We can have free buses. That'll be wonderful. We can have rent control, even though rent control has destroyed housing in New York. We could have more rent control. You go down the list of what he wants to do, and you realize these are people who live outside of reality. They live in a fantasy world. And the result's going to be I think, for the whole country, a great education in why the Democratic Party is no longer an acceptable alternative to run the country.
Well, I can't get my head around how serious the Trump syndrome is, or has become. Let me put it that way. That you can hate somebody so much you can't see straight.
Right. Absolutely.
And there's even people within his party that do. I understand he is a hard person to like. I get that. What I don't understand is that there isn't a conservative out there that hasn't run on doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of go, okay, well, but he's doing it, so it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Okay, but moreover, have you ever seen a political party that their only message is hating him, and it's destroying their party?
Yeah.
What does the good God-fearing Democrat do? Is there a place for a God-fearing Democrat?
They change parties.
You know,
they change parties, or else they lose grip on their faith and their walk. You know, it's interesting too, because we're talking about Mamdani, we're talking about what has propelled him to where he is. I was reading an article, and they said that it wasn't the working class basically that won him the primary. He won on the backs of millennials who turned out in great numbers in the primary. Now, keep in mind that millennials right now are the first generation at this point between 18 and 34. There are more millennials living with their parents right now than living with spouses.
Yeah.
That's a fact. That's the first time in American history.
So the mentality is, serve me.
Serve me, exactly right. Now, and people are wondering why Cuomo now is running independent. He lost the primary by like 12 points or something like that. I mean, it wasn't even close. But he's continuing his race as an independent. You know why? It's because only 13% turned out for the primary.
Okay, that is the point.
Yes.
It was a low turnout primary, produced this mess.
Yes.
If we don't wake up, especially Christians, understand your vote does count.
Yep.
And especially in primaries.
Yeah.
Especially in primaries.
Yep.
Okay. Well, interesting lessons. That's why we have hot dogs.
Yes, indeed.
I wonder if we should have a Dove Dog Day.
Yes, we should.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I wonder if we could do that. Boy, my staff is going crazy. They're yelling at me. Don't you even go down that road. But what if we had a Dove Dog Day, you know? We just
a Dove Dog Day.
A Dove Dog Day. And you could drive by and get a Dove Dog.
I love it.
Right out there on that big gravel area. We just have a bunch of barbecues out there.
Yes.
And come by and buy a Dove Dog for $20. It'll be a great fundraiser. Okay. We're only in at 90 cents. We'll be right back.
Clean water is essential to your good health. Ultra Pure Purified Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family run, Ultra Pure Purified Water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828.
At Kelly's Automotive Service,
being good stewards of what God has entrusted to us
is at the core of our business.
We believe what we do matters.
Every interaction, every transaction is another opportunity
to bring Christ's values into the marketplace.
If you're a technician who wants to be part of something bigger,
or just looking for a new shop to bring your vehicle,
we would love to meet you.
We're Kelly's Automotive Service,
where we service your vehicle
but take care of you.
Go where the wild runs deep. At Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, you feel the power of the mighty Rogue River as you take in the sights and sounds of nature, journey through Hellgate Canyon, and adventure through the breathtaking wilderness. Enjoy brunch or dinner on the open-air deck of the exclusive Hellgate River Lodge, and end your adventure with our exciting jetboat spins. It's a memory in the making with family and friends. Book your adventure at Hellgate.com. Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, where adventure runs wild.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Lizer with Lizer Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
Hi, good morning to you. 26 minutes before the hour. I think, I'm back to this Dove Dog Day.
The Dove Dog Day.
I think, okay. But the other thing, my mind's going crazy here, but we ought to take a show where we play all the breaks.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah.
Okay. So what goes on between these segments?
The real show.
Well, that means those guys in the control room would have to record it.
Yeah.
And then we come back, and could we turn it into a show? But would we want to?
No.
Okay.
No, we wouldn't.
No, that would be letting the cat out of the bag.
Yes, it would. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to Dove Dog Days. All right. All right, let's check in with CBN Newswatch and get caught up on the Middle East.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. It is Wednesday, July 16th. I want to begin this half hour in the Middle East, where Israel's prime minister has a razor-thin majority in parliament after an Orthodox party pulled out of the coalition. All of this comes as Israel is striking Syrian forces near the border and violence is surging in the West Bank. Chuck Holton reports now on our top story from Jerusalem.
Israeli warplanes struck Syrian government positions in southern Syria this week, just miles from the Israeli border. The airstrikes targeted regime forces accused of backing tribal militias attacking Druze civilians in Sweda province.
The truth is that the de facto authority is an exclusionary power and cannot execute. The promises it made to European countries and America are contradicted by what is happening on the ground, which goes against all the promises and commitments it made. It is unable to control those groups.
Israel says the strikes were necessary to enforce the demilitarized buffer zone and protect Druze residents. But reports say the bombing campaign was paused at the request of the United States, who feared further escalation. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is now facing a serious political crisis. The ultra-Orthodox United Torah Judaism Party has officially left the coalition over a proposed draft law that would require yeshiva students to serve in the military. That move drops Netanyahu's majority to just 61 seats, barely enough to govern, and it's already sparking celebration among some Orthodox communities.
They want to recruit us in the army and to destroy us. And thank God we welcome them, that they've returned to us. They made the best move they could have done.
The fallout could complicate ceasefire talks with Hamas and give far-right members of Netanyahu's coalition even more leverage to push for a prolonged war in Gaza. And in Judea and Samaria, tensions are boiling. A Palestinian American was shot and killed near Ramallah, prompting Ambassador Huckabee to call for an investigation. Meanwhile, church leaders are accusing Israeli authorities of allowing violent settler attacks after an assault on the Christian village of Taibe.
Simple people, farmers, that they are under attacks from those radical groups, that they take the law in their hands and do all sorts of things, right? And therefore, it's part and parcel of our moral obligation to raise our voice and awareness.
The Knesset is now preparing hearings on full Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria, even as violence across the region continues. From Jerusalem, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
I want to continue our coverage now with Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell. He is joining us. So, Chris, the fighting in southern Syria seems to be increasing. What are the consequences, and what have you heard about atrocities against the Druze there?
Well, it's a very serious development, Ephraim. One thing we have heard in just the last hour or so is that the IDF has hit the Defense Department of Syria, the Syrian regime, in Damascus. And I think that's sending a very clear signal to the al-Jilani regime that if you don't stop these attacks against the Druze in southern Syria, then there's more that will be coming from the IDF. In terms of the atrocities, I've been hearing and seeing videos humiliation. What these jihadists are doing many times, Ephraim, is that they're actually shaving these people, which is just so humiliating to these people. There's also been videos of executions of the Druze. And so what this is these Islamists, the jihadists, are waging this jihad against the Druze community, which is bringing the Druze community in Israel wanting to go there to defend their brethren. So it's a very serious development. All the while this is supposedly happening, while normalization talks are going on between the new regime of al-Jilani and Israel, and this certainly complicates things and makes you wonder if these normalization talks will actually succeed.
President Trump will be meeting with the Emir of Qatar about a potential ceasefire in Gaza. Could this happen? And what do some say about the role of Qatar in Gaza?
Well, it certainly seems like the Emir is making it a very serious pitch to President Trump to try to bring this what's called a 60-day ceasefire with possible return of all the hostages, or at least some of the hostages, and perhaps what Hamas has been demanding all along is an end to the fighting and also a permanent ceasefire, while Israel is saying that it's a non-starter. The role of Qatar, Ephraim, has been very problematic to a lot of people for many years, is that they have been funding Hamas for years. They host many of the Hamas leaders in their capital of Doha. And so many people have really been questioning the mediating role of Qatar in these ceasefire talks, claiming that they are both the arsonists, setting things on fire by funding and fueling Hamas, and then being the firemen to try to put the fire out and bring along a ceasefire.
Well, Syria in the mix.
Yeah.
Qatar in the mix.
Yeah.
The Middle East has just never, ever been simple, and it won't be until Jesus puts his foot on the Mount of Olives.
Amen. Amen.
It just won't.
You got it.
It just won't come out right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he likes horseradish, and he likes hot sauce, and he likes. What else you like?
I like it all.
Onions.
Yeah, more hot
sauerkraut.
Sauce. Yeah.
Do you leave room for relish?
Yeah. You can do it all.
I can.
Yeah,
he would, and he does.
Careful. Yeah.
We'll be right. Here he is.
Look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. High pressure continues as temperatures move up. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, sunny with heat advisories and daytime highs in the upper 90s for Vancouver, Portland, and McMinnville, and near 100 in Wilsonville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, sunny with heat advisories and daytime highs in the upper 90s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene, with a light northwest wind and lows tonight in the mid to upper 50s. Sunny skies continue across central Oregon with daytime highs in the low to mid 90s for Prineville and Bend and near 89 in Sun River with a light north wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny with a high near 93. Some patchy fog along the Oregon coast, then sunny and hazy with daytime high temperatures in the mid-70s for Coos Bay, low to mid-60s for Port Orford and Crescent City, and low 50s around Brookings. In southern Oregon, sunny, hot, and hazy for the Rogue Valley with highs near 103 in Grants Pass, 104 in Medford, and 99 around Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny and hazy with daytime highs in the mid-90s. Moving into Northern California, sunny, hazy, and hot with daytime high temperatures near 100 in Wairika, 97 in Redding, near 93 in Chico, and mid-80s in Sacramento with a southwest wind gusting up to 18 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, patchy fog, then gradual clearing with highs in the low 70s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Mostly cloudy in San Francisco, then clearing with a high in the mid-60s. And today in San Jose, sunny with a high near 80. It's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather from Grange Co-op.
Okay, there's a picture from Roxy, and you can tell that the smoke has shifted, and the wind has brought the smoke in, and it's starting to settle down out there, so the air quality is diminishing as we speak. And most of this is coming from Siskiyou County, Northern California fires, and some of them are pretty strong down there, so we'll just have to deal with it and be careful.
Well, we knew it was a matter of time. Eventually the wind shifts and we get some of that stuff our way. We've been pretty fortunate so far, but not now. Anyway, well, there was a lot on the plates of the founding fathers as our country got going, and part of the problem was, where do you put the nation's capital? Do you favor a state by putting it one of those, or do you do exactly what they did? As they did on this day in history, through an act of Congress, the U.S. Capitol was established.
On July 16, 1790, Congress passed the Residence Act, choosing a swampy, humid, muddy, and mosquito-infested site on the Potomac River as the new U.S. Capitol. Named after President George Washington, the city was carved out of land between Maryland and Virginia in a new federal zone, the District of Columbia. Washington believed the spot held promise thanks to nearby navigable rivers and its central location. He tapped Pierre L'Enfant, a French architect, to design a grand capital. By 1793, the first stones of the president's mansion were laid, what we now call the White House. But George Washington never lived there. It wasn't finished until 1800, when John Adams and his wife Abigail moved in just for a year. Thomas Jefferson became the White House's second resident in 1801, shaping a new era in the brand new capital, Washington, D.C.
They drained the swamp once to build it, because it was swampy. It was nasty there, but boy, what a prize. What a great place now.
Why don't we put a moat around it? And put alligators in.
Is that to keep them in or to keep us out?
Well, either way. Why don't we move the nation's capital to Catalina Island?
Oh, what a thought.
Why don't we just put it on an island? As long as it's part of the ground, they're going to want to do something with it, like give it 2 senators.
Okay. Well, and speaking of which, statehood or not for D.C.?
No, absolutely not.
All right.
No.
Yep.
Oh, my stars.
Okay.
Oh, gosh. All of a sudden, root canals are back in the picture.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
All right.
Marriage being what it is, at times challenging. Got to understand the terms security and success. And do you know where the line is drawn? Well, focus on the family. And Bill and Pam Farrell, they take this on, and here's what they had to say.
It's hard for us guys to admit how emotional being successful is. Like, if we know there's something in life we can succeed at, we'll put all of our effort into it. We will focus. We'll give it our all. If we face something we believe we cannot succeed at, we're going to run away from it. And it happens in marriage all the time. Like, men who feel like they can communicate with their wives, they'll jump in and communicate. If they feel like it's not going well, they just back off and they talk less and less because they're not succeeding. Men who feel like they can make decisions with their wives will jump in and make decisions and look forward to meeting. Men who cannot, like they feel like they're always getting criticized, always getting run over, they just start to avoid it. So men will spend lots and lots and lots of hours at work because they know they can succeed there. And they come home and they don't know how to succeed at home.
And I came across this verse that was super familiar, and it was out of Ephesians 5.
Which says, wives, respect your husbands.
And so I said, okay, what does respect really mean? And so basically God said, I want you to see Bill as God sees Bill, a man worthy of honor and respect, because I gave him to you as a gift. I want you to speak to words that God use to speak to Bill, words that would edify and encourage and lift him up. Life-giving words. Pam, I want you to serve alongside of Bill, help him be successful in this new pastorate as a helpmeet. That's what I've called you to be. And so I called Bill on the phone and I'm like, hey, you want to go lunch? And Bill said,
I think so.
He wasn't sure what he was going to get.
Because there's been a lot of criticism up till that point.
But over lunch, I shared what the Holy Spirit taught me in the Word. And I said, honey, if I don't get all the things, the new house, the new cars, the things that I think that I need to be happy, I just want you to know that before God, right now, I commit 100% I am on your team.
And internally, I if I were to say what happened internally, it was kind of a great big yes, because something turned on inside when I realized Pam believes in me, and Pam is going to help me with whatever God leads us on. Pam's going to be all in, and I don't know how to describe it, but her belief in me turned me into a better pastor and a better husband.
Interesting.
Slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a saying. I always do.
Yeah.
But I won't share it here.
Okay.
It's worked for me, okay? You find yours.
Okay. I'm looking. I'm
okay.
searching. Yeah.
All right. We're getting out of here. We'll be right back. In doing 21,000 interviews, you cover multiple topics. Alan Dershowitz, George W. Bush, Rush Limbaugh, David Limbaugh, Franklin Graham, Dr. David Jeremiah, Dr. Dobson, Dr. Alveda King, Sean Hannity, Ronald Reagan. Been quite a ride over these 42 plus years. 21,000 interviews, that's a big milestone. It's huge.
With the words, "Behold, a sower went out to sow," Jesus begins the legendary Matthew 13 parable of the sower about God's word and draws attention to the need for good soil in order to bear fruit. This question of good soil motivates and challenges every Christian parent. Can good soil be nurtured in the lives of our children? A similar question was asked by the ancient Greeks concerning virtue. Drawing upon classical traditions like the Trivium and the liberal arts, classical Christian schools are coming alongside Christian parents to do just that, nurture good soil and virtue. Now in our 8th year serving Jackson County, Knox Academy, the Rogue Valley Zone K-12 classical Christian school, is relocating to downtown Medford in order to better assist parents as they educate their children. We are currently enrolling students for the 25-26 school year. Visit us at knoxmedford.com for more information. Invest in a future with a strong connection to the past for good soil, deep roots, and fruit at knoxmedford.com.
From top home sellers in the Valley with John L. Scott
to making RV consignment effortless.
American RV, where Team Toner gets your RV sold fast.
Pastor Robert Jeffers of the First Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas.
Not just about Christ Jesus, but that I might know him.
Helping you learn, grow, and get on the pathway to victory. Catch it 7 times every weekend on the Dove TV.
Welcome back. Happy Wednesday to you. There is a question I believe that will never get answered.
What?
Because it belongs to God, and that when we get to heaven, we may even then not get the full answer.
Will you ask?
And the question is, why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah.
Why does evil exist?
Yeah.
Why does God allow it? I mean, you can go down this road, and it's pretty long and hard. You look at the innocence of the death of what happened in Texas, of young girls at a Christian girls' camp, and you got to ask the question, why, Lord, did you allow this to happen?
Right.
And sometimes there is no answer, and I think the worst thing you can do is try to explain it. So that's why I turned to Dr. Tim Murphy, and I asked him to explain it, and guess what his answer was? Here it is.
There's been more brilliant minds than ours who have asked this question for thousands of years. And there is not an answer, and so that becomes the basis of the dispensing with the beliefs of atheists and agnostics as well. No good God would let these things happen. The alternative is, do we want to just be puppets and have a God which controls everything in our lives and get rid of free will and simply exist? I wouldn't want that. The real question becomes, what do we do with it? And we want God to answer this question for us, which, by the way, if people get angry about it, and God's like, okay, well, you're not the first one to get angry with me, you're not the first one to ask the question. But where this comes down to is we want God to control every molecule, every atom, every electron for the universe according to what we want. And do all those things. That takes a powerful God to do all that. But God just asks us to take care of ourselves. And when it comes down to that point, a question I oftentimes bring to people, now look, there's a time of grieving and trouble where we're naturally saying, how could this be? How could a child drown, an innocent child? How could a young child with cancer have this occur to them? How could someone who's very innocent have trauma and tragedy occur to them? But with that question too comes the answer that we need to give ourselves. Well, how come I can't control myself? How come I cannot prevent myself from causing tragedy to other people with deceit and lies and harm How do I do that? How do I prevent that from happening? Ultimately, that is probably the only question we can answer for ourselves if we choose to. So instead of putting it all on the Lord and saying, make sure there's no more suffering for me, make sure there's no more difficulty, we need to also be saying to ourselves, can I do that to myself? Can I make sure I treat my children well, my friends well, my spouse, the lame, the hungry, the homeless? Can I make sure I treat them well? And oftentimes, maybe all the time, is I'm not perfect and I'm going to mess it up too. But I want God to be better than me. And the Lord says, I've set a standard for you. Could you at least do that? Love one another and love the Lord your God. And it's like, I don't want to do that. Could you please do things for me? And so it's this constant crisis of thoughts that we have. And there is not a simple answer for this. And you know this too, Perry. Many great writers have struggled with this point over the eons and haven't come up with a perfect answer for us. So let's just look at ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you got to retain the mystery side of your relationship with God. Mm-hmm. God does not want us to know everything.
Yeah.
He just doesn't.
Right.
And we'll never know on this side of heaven. So this is where faith comes in. So I don't know. Don't attempt to answer that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll just dig a hole you can't get out of. So, all right, Dr. George Barna will be with me in a few moments. I think you'll find our time together to be pretty fascinating.
All right. Well, Jennifer McMullen, who is an original Rosie the Riveter, is celebrating her 100th birthday this weekend.
This Sunday, Jennifer McMullen turns 100, and right beside her, her husband of 78 years, Mel, age 99. Born during the Great Depression, Jennifer helped her family sell eggs door to door, then went on to help build fighter planes during World War II as one of the original Rosie the Riveters. She worked nights at Lockheed, raised 3 sons, led the PTA, volunteered with nearly every civic group in town, and still found time to explore the world, from Antarctica to Machu Picchu, even Cuba in her 90s. But her greatest adventure? A love story that began when she rented a room from Mel's mom during the war. 6 weeks after they met, they were engaged. That was 1946. Today, they're among fewer than 1,000 U.S. couples married 75 years or longer. They live happily at Oakmont of Whittier, where Jennifer, now vice president of the Residents Association, says the secret to life is simple. Find a good man, keep reading, and enjoy life. And her birthday wish? Just keep things the way they are.
And remember 2 words, most famous words in a male's vocabulary.
Are?
Yes, dear.
The Sherms Market Jackson County Fair is back and bigger than ever. Rock out July 17th with legendary band Kansas, playing all the classics, Carry On Wayward Son, Dust in the Wind, and more, presented by People's Bank. Then on July 18th, it's Skillet Live. Hear hits like Awake and Comatose from the multi-platinum, Grammy-nominated hard rock band. The Jackson County Fair is the place to be this summer. Fun for the whole herd. Get your tickets now at theexpo.com.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Burgers, salads, sandwiches, barbecue platters, sides, and more. Smoked, grilled, and served to perfection. Sweet Tea Express. Breakfast, burgers, and barbecue.
Where big ideas grow.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
I want those nightmares to go away because every time I close my eyes, every fatal crash, every fatality, every death experience I've ever experienced in my career all came back. I woke up crying because of those dreams and those nightmares. I went into my closet, closed the door, got on my knees, lay prostrate on the floor, and began to weep and cry, begging for the Lord to release the burden off my shoulders.
Tuesday on the 700 Club, right here on the Dove TV.
Does talking about sexual topics with your kids make you uncomfortable?
A lot of times parents, what they don't know is the person to introduce these topics to kids first immediately becomes the expert in the kid's head. And so are we allowing Dr. Google, the school counselor, the health teacher, friends, older brothers, are they becoming the experts, or are you establishing I'm the expert?
Join me for the John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV. It'll be encouraging and informative.
You're watching the Dove TV, encouraging and informative for Salem, Portland, and the Willamette Valley. Seen on KWVT 17 and these Dove TV affiliates.
Well, welcome back. And when we have time to sit down with Dr. George Barna, we are really grateful for his time and certainly his contribution to our culture, and his passion for accurate research. And it is an honor to have him with us today. He is the director of the research center there at the Cultural Research Center at Arizona Christian University. He serves as senior research fellow at the Family Research Council Center for Biblical Worldview. He's the author of several books, but his new one, I think, is just perfect, Raising Spiritual Champions, Nurturing Your Children's Heart, Mind, and Soul. And there's a picture of the cover of the book. I think all parents should have a copy of this one. And the website is certainly familiar, culturalresearchcenter.com. Dr. Barna, friend, good to see you. How are you?
It is so good to see you, Perry. It's been quite a while.
Yeah, it has. And I just had your colleague on a little while ago, Dr. Rasmussen.
I notice you're going for the smart people now. You've dumped me. You've pushed me to the side.
Well, he actually answered all the questions I was going to ask you, so have a nice day.
And he answered them better than I would have. So, yeah, we're both happy.
Oh, great. Good to see you, friend. Thanks for your time. Sorry for the difficulties there. Boy, your latest research is pretty fascinating. It does fit a lot of headlines. I'm hearing something being used out there, kind of like, is there a silent revival or a vocal rejection of God? And your latest research shows 74% of the adults now rely on their feelings than absolute moral direction. Were you surprised by this?
Well, I think when I first researched it, I was, but because we've been looking at this for years now, what I'm kind of looking at is the tracking data, just measuring the progression over time. So no, I knew that most people rely on feelings rather than facts. What we know is that from generation to generation, that's becoming more of the case. And so younger people are more likely to say, yeah, facts don't matter because you can make up facts. Well, not really, because that's what facts tells us. It's something you didn't make up. It's the reality. But nevertheless, no, it's not surprising, but it is disappointing and it's frustrating, because one of the things that you find is when you interact with people, it's hard to say, but your feelings are wrong. You know, you can't make those kinds of judgments based on feelings. Truth isn't a feeling. Truth is a reality. But when young people in particular, they're not exclusive in this club, but they make up a large share of it, when they say, yeah, but I'm not feeling that, I'm feeling something else, and you can't tell me what my truth is because you don't know my feelings, you don't dictate my feelings, and I'm not going to let you try to orchestrate my feelings. That's my domain. So that becomes a very challenging argument to undergo with people.
So that goes back to the overall problem of relevant truth. I mean, if it's based on feelings, it's almost a circular argument, isn't it?
It certainly is. I mean, if you're not willing to deal with reality, which is what I think facts, empirical facts, help us to get a grip on, then really every conversation is just about one person's fantasy interacting with another person's fantasy. And if they overlap or they intersect at certain points, great. But then we're relying upon chance and other things that really aren't very reliable and aren't going to be very helpful. So I think ultimately it's useful when you have these kind of conversations to try to find some point of intersection in reality. It's like, wait a minute, didn't we both experience this together? And didn't this outcome come from that? And we both experienced that together. Okay, let's use that as a starting point and now move forward from that. And I know your feelings took you in this direction, but the facts that we both experienced suggested something different. Let's interact related to that. So when you have a culture that by and large resists the fact that there is a consistent, knowable, shared reality, these conversations are going to take a long time, which goes back to my whole thing about, okay, so how does discipleship work in this kind of a culture? And it's got to be relational, because the only way that you can have those kinds of long-term, extended, deep, challenging conversations is if that relationship exists, and it's a relationship based on trust. So you're not going to write me off because you don't trust me. You're going to take what I'm saying seriously because you know that I care about you. You know that I'm trying to do what's right for you. And therefore, that leads the conversation to a different place.
So at the beginning of this conversation, going back to what may have caused the original feeling or the results now that they're dealing with feelings, doesn't that go back to conscience? I mean, we're all given a conscience. Isn't there just like this undersurface conscience we know when we do something wrong, but we just cover it up?
Yeah, but Perry, I mean, you know as well as I do that one of the realities of American society is that denial is one of the strongest definers of the American population. We can experience things and deny them. We hear half-truths or full truths, we deny them. We accept half-truths. We accept comfortable truths. We accept things that help us to be more, or to feel more secure, because it's all about feelings. So, yeah, we do have that conscience. God has implanted that in each one of us. But Satan, as part of the spiritual war that each of us is engaged in, is consistently moving us to deny that conscience and to say that's misleading, that's not helpful. It's something that other people aren't going to respect, and you want to be respected. All of these other kinds of arguments that, again, go back to our feelings.
Okay. So the subject of absolute moral truth, how do you bring it into the conversation? Because we know it's based upon Scripture, but a non-believer doesn't maybe want to accept that.
Yeah, generally they won't. Generally they've made a decision that the Bible cannot be trusted, at least in all cases, maybe in some cases. Most Americans would say the Bible is not a reliable guide for our lives. It's not relevant to our lives. And that's why they lean toward feelings, because it's the only thing that they can readily access and that they feel as if they understand. And it's not going to take as much effort. So here again, we've got to go back and start at the beginning with them. It's like, okay, well, how do you know what is reality? How do you figure out what truth is? And I know you say your feelings, but what makes you rely upon your feelings rather than something that everybody around you who you trust may accept as fact, and you're just not there yet? How do you move forward? How do you mature in your thinking, in your decision making? And then let's go back and look at some of the decisions that you've made. Because if they're being made on the basis of feelings and they're not working, well, then what do you do with that? Is it possible that you could sit back and say, well, maybe my feelings aren't as consistently reliable as I've led myself to think, or as certain philosophers that I appreciate or encourage me to believe? So it's really kind of a difficult long-term journey that you have to go on. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're also finding in our research that most people only have 4 or 5 real relationships, deep friends that they feel they can trust and rely upon. And yet we're finding that those relationships are a revolving door. They're changing regularly. And sometimes that's because we're encouraging our friends to have these kind of conversations with us. And they don't want to put in that amount of effort and energy. They don't necessarily trust where we're coming from, because if you're my friend, you're going to know pretty early on in the conversation, I believe in the Bible. I trust Jesus. I know that I was made by God. I believe that you were made by God, and everything that's going on is ultimately under the control of God. And if you're uncomfortable with that, you may want to drop me as a friend quicker than you would have otherwise. So it's a really hard time for Christians to be able to break through the wall of denial and mistrust and selfishness that other people possess.
Well, it requires something that both of us don't have a whole lot of, and that is time and patience.
Are you telling me we're done here?
Well, if you're going to get involved in people's lives, it's a commitment.
It really is. And that's one of the challenges we find in America, is that people are willing to make commitments, but usually when they see an exorbitant personal benefit. If there's a relationship with somebody, and this is one of the reasons I think why most Christians are not discipling anybody, they're not sharing their faith in Christ with other people, is because now it's not a quick hit. Years ago, I was speaking at a conference, and the organizer of the conference, it was his organization that put it on, he spoke right before me, and he told all of his people, he had 4,000 of his employees there, and he said, you know what? There are, I forget what the number was, but let's say 3 billion people on the face of the earth today who don't know Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. They've never heard the gospel. You don't have time to build a relationship. You got to lay the truth on them and move on to the next person, because we got to reach all 4 billion. And I'm sitting backstage sweating bullets, because I'm thinking, okay, this is his group. This is what he's teaching them. I'm going to come on, and my message is exactly the opposite, which is you've got to be willing to build a relationship with this person. You can't see anybody as short term if you want to influence their life. And you've got to do it in 2 ways, through that set of conversations you're going to have. But the most important thing that you can impress them with is your behavior, because it's really behavioral modeling that my research is showing has the greatest impact on other people. They may be intrigued by what you say, but they're not going to buy it until they see you living it. And then once they see that, then maybe the conversation can get a little bit deeper, go a little bit farther. But that's one of the problems we find, and you mentioned that book I wrote, Raising Spiritual Champions. One of the things we found in there is that parents aren't trusted by their children for that very reason. Wow. The parents tell the kids to live one way, but then they themselves live differently. The kids see that and they say, I guess my parents are as confused as I am. Can't trust them. And that's why they turn to the media, because the media, whether we're talking about one movie, one television show, some social media clips, or a video game, whatever media it is that they're turning to, tends to be consistent in each of the vehicles. Right. So in that 2-hour movie, it's a consistent message.
All right, let me take a quick break. Let me serve viewers and listeners. Check out Dr. Barna's book, Raising Spiritual Champions. There's a picture of the cover on the screen there. This is an outstanding resource for you. And, of course, he heads up the department of the Cultural Research Center there at Arizona Christian University. You can go to culturalresearchcenter.org. We'll be right back.
Wildfire season is coming. Are you ready? All it takes is one small ember to level a home. Reduce any fire hazards around your home and property to prevent an escaped fire from spreading out of control and to protect your home from an oncoming wildfire. It's called Defensible Space, and it works. Go to keeporegongreen.org to learn more.
Answers with Bayless Conley.
Now it's no longer I who live, but it is Christ who lives in me.
Find answers to life's biggest questions that can only be found in the Bible.
How much God loves people that he would give so much to redeem them.
Answers to strengthen your faith, to know God better, for a more deep, more powerful walk.
We were the sheep that went astray, but he was the lamb that was slaughtered.
Get Answers with Bayless Conley, Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday on the Dove TV.
a ministry moment on the Dove.
Now notice when Jesus called his disciples, he never hid from them the fact that to follow him meant suffering, persecution, and death. We have a great deal of what someone has called cheap grace. Easy to follow Christ. Easy to get in the church. In Jesus' day, he called them to suffering. He didn't call them to a playground. He called them to a battlefield. He called them to war, spiritual war. And he said, you're going to suffer, and you're going to be wounded, and you're going to die in my cause, because the world is going to reject me. This world that's dominated by evil and sin will reject me.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Okay, welcome back, and always an honor to have with us Dr. George Barna, director of the Research Center there at the Cultural Research Center at Arizona Christian University. He's written a lot of books, does a lot of research, probably one of the most quoted researchers in America. You can check out his latest book, Parents and really grandparents all alike, Raising Spiritual Champions, Nurturing Your Child's Heart, Mind, and Soul. A perfect book in the times in which we live. Get it, you'll end up writing in the margins. There it is, a picture of the cover. And the website is culturalresearchcenter.com. Dr. Barna, picking up from where we left off, I was thinking about something I experienced the other day, and it kind of fits here, and that is the commitment that is needed to walk people into a relationship with Christ. It does require time and patience. And I ended up getting involved in somebody's life the other day that was previously counseled by another Christian. And I came to a conclusion that they got some bad advice.
There is that.
Okay. And what I discovered in asking question was that the person that was so-called discipling them was looking for more approval than change in the person's life that they were talking to. And they ended up being a blend between moral truth and feelings. Did I sense that right?
Yeah, and that's pretty common. I mean, the work that I'm doing right now on discipleship, one of the things we're finding is that there's only about 3% of the adult population that are actively trying to make biblical disciples. And one of the things we've learned, of course, is that, number one, who makes disciples? Well, disciples, because you always reproduce who you are. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to make a genuine biblical disciple, you've got to be one. And what does it take to be one? Well, you've got to be able to think like Jesus so that you can live like Jesus. Why? Because we do what we believe. And so that means that you've got to have a biblical worldview. Only 4% of American adults have a biblical worldview. So if you look at the fact that 66% of Americans call themselves Christians, 33% are what we might theologically identify as born-again Christians, mm-hmm. but then it drops down to only 4% with a biblical worldview, only 3% actively making biblical disciples. Yeah, most of the people who are going to be out there talking about Jesus are going to be mixing in a lot of other stuff that is extra biblical and that is primarily coming from themselves, their heart, their feelings, their fantasies about who they are and how they want to live and what the world should be like, as opposed to what did God ordain. And so, yeah, I think your experience is very, very common. I mean, even when we look at pastors, we know that only 4 out of 10 of them, about 37% of all pastors of Christian churches have a biblical worldview, and most of them are not making disciples. So when you've got these Jesus conversations happening in our culture, it's because we're trying to lead people toward our worldview. 88% of Americans' dominant worldview is syncretism, which is that potpourri of many different philosophies of life that we customize for our own benefit, our own feelings. And then we try to get other people to follow us so that we feel like, oh, it must be right. Look, other people are embracing it. So, yeah, I think your experience is not uncommon, but it also points out we've got to be really sensitive to what's being said. We can't just take at face value what everybody's saying, even if they're a Christian, even if they're out there trying to make disciples. I've heard presentations of the gospel that made me want to throw up because it's not God's gospel. It's man's gospel, borrowing a few elements from God's gospel, putting his label on it. But it's really what makes us feel good, what makes us think that we'll be successful in trying to get other people to follow this pitch that we're giving them. But it's not something that honors God or advances his kingdom.
So there's a direct correlation between, and I remember talking to you earlier, it was 8%, now it's 4%. Americans hold a biblical worldview. So it's no wonder at 4% that syncretism now is dominating the Christian culture.
Well, and again, it goes back to, well, how do we get there? Well, because we're influenced by a lot of different things. What influences us? Far and away, the biggest influence is media content. We're subjected to thousands of worldview messages through the media every single day. Whether it's in radio we hear in the car driving home, whether it's in music that we're streaming, television and movies that we're streaming once we get home, video games we play, social media we're consuming on our phones, thousands of messages every day, more than all of the other messages that we get each day combined. And when you look at what are the worldview messages that are being sent to us, it's not a biblical set of messages. It's a worldly set, a secular set of messages. So some of it has a postmodern feel, some of it's humanist, some of it's Eastern mystical, some of it's animistic, some of it's satanic. I mean, there's all these different influences that are thrown at us through the media. And really that's what's raising American society. It's not just an obsession. If you go back to the American Psychological Association and look at their definition of an addiction, we are addicted to media. And it's that media addiction, just like an alcohol addiction, a drug addiction, a sex addiction, radically changes the life of those addicts. Our media addiction has radically redefined how we live in America.
So how can we propagate absolute biblical moral truth without being seen or felt as being legalistic?
Well, frankly, let's talk about what would be the easiest way to start. And that's why I wrote Raising Spiritual Champions, because the easiest way to start is with your children. They're searching for these kinds of answers. And so they're going to get some from their friends on the playground and in the classroom. They're going to get some from their teachers and their textbooks. They're going to get some from the media that they're paying attention to. But we as parents have the biblical responsibility to shape that worldview of our children. And knowing that it starts being developed at 15 to 18 months of age and is fully formed by the age of 13, that gives us a 12-year window where if we do nothing else but intentionally, strategically, consciously shape the worldview of our children. Well, think about it. If you have 2 or 3 children, that's probably more people than for the rest of your life, the number of whose worldview you're going to shape. And so start with your children, and that's how we begin to make a radical change, because then they're going to go out and they're going to try to influence the worldview of their friends, their work colleagues, their children as they age, their fellow students. And that's how the kingdom is going to expand. It's incredibly difficult to change the worldview of an adult. It only usually changes in response to a radical life crisis.
Yeah, a PTSD moment, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've often said there's only 2 things that change you, really. I mean, you can read books and go to sermons and even go to school, and it's all good. But at the end of the day, either inspiration or desperation changes you.
It's true. And frankly, the most powerful of those is the desperation.
Right.
Because inspiration, if you think about it, that's a feeling. And so like everything else, that comes and goes. But desperation, that's a situation, that's a condition, and that has to be physically changed by the individual who's experiencing it, and emotionally and intellectually as well.
Let me squeeze in one more quick question. Did you recently, I think it was some of your research that came up with there seems to be a increase in openness among young males. Is that true?
It wasn't my research. I think that might have been Pew.
Okay.
But, or maybe it was the Barna Group, I don't know. But, well, I think it's misleading.
Okay.
Because I remember reading that research. I think actually it was the Barna Group. But what they're finding is actually an openness to spirituality.
Okay.
And so that's what's been increasing. But as we've been studying Gen Z and the Alpha Gen, whatever you're going to call them, that comes after Z, what we're finding is that, yes, they believe that their predecessors, the millennials, got it wrong. And so they're trying to come up with different solutions. And they know that spirituality has got to be part of that. And they don't want to automatically embrace what their parents, the millennials generation, bought into. But consequently, they're open to everything. So are they open to Christianity? Yeah, they are, which is great. And we need to take advantage of that opening. But that's not the only thing they're open to. And we can't assume that if we just start laying the typical Christian line on the table for them, that they're going to gobble that up and say, oh, that's what I've been looking for. No, they'll be interested. They'll go for some of the experiences to see how that feels, how well it works. But that's probably not the only thing they're going to try to experience.
Wow. What else are you working on these days? What other questions are you asking that we don't know the answer to yet?
Well, I don't either, which is why I'm working on them. But it's really mostly about, okay, I've looked at worldview. I know that's critical toward discipleship. Mm-hmm. So the current research is really about discipleship. And in a changing culture, the old discipleship assumptions no longer are valid. And so what are the new assumptions? What are the new approaches? The gospel doesn't change. God's truth doesn't change. Right. People change. Culture changes. How can we align those with his unchanging truth? That's mostly what I'm working on currently.
All right. Check out culturalresearchcenter.com. Check out his book, Raising Spiritual Champions, Nurturing Your Children's Heart, Mind, and Soul. And Dr. Barna, one last question. Are there times where you take that beautiful headset you're wearing, plug it into your bass amp, and rock out when nobody's watching?
We had troubles with the audio before, so I'm wearing that's what this is a recording set of headphones. I wouldn't normally wear these on screen.
No, it's fine. I just wondering. I know that you're kind of a weekend rocker, and I thought, well, you plug that into your amp in your office, nobody's watching, you're having a good time.
Yeah, actually, I use them for recording, so you're right. Yeah, you caught me. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, friend. God bless you. Thanks for your time.
You too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? Want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life? Now's the time to call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Leiser with Leiser Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Okay, welcome back. And as you know, the Middle East is very much in the news these days. Ceasefires, do they hold? Are they real? What's happening in Syria? Now Qatar is kind of back in the news. Iran is a little bit silent at the moment. What's that all about? I am so honored when we have time to sit down with Ruthie Bloom. Ruthie is a former advisor in the office of the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. She's an award-winning columnist, senior contributor, and editor at the Jewish News Syndicate, and the co-host of Israel Undiplomatic, which is also on the JNS TV. The website, jns.org, which stands for the Jewish News Syndicate. Ruthie, good to see you again. How are you?
I'm good, Perry. It's good to see you again, too.
Thank you for your time. We value it greatly. So, what's your take on the current ceasefire with Hamas in Israel? Is it real?
Well, so far there isn't a current ceasefire. There are talks in Qatar. There's a delegation there. President Trump apparently is hosting the Emir of Qatar at the White House, I believe this evening, Washington time. And there's very little we know about it. All we know is that Hamas keeps rejecting each of Witkoff's proposals, and yet President Trump says he's optimistic that a deal will be reached shortly.
Why Qatar? Why are they in the mix?
Well, you know, it's a shame that they're in the mix, but the original reason was that Qatar, aside from being the Middle East's ATM, it's really just a little basically terror funding tiny state with lots of money. And we know that it has infiltrated the United States as well with lots of money to universities and NGOs, etc. And it does that all over the world. It charms everyone with money. That's one thing. And the other, more importantly, is that it houses Hamas leaders. Any of the leaders who left Gaza are living it up in Qatar in 5-star hotels and having a grand old time over there while hostages are dying in the tunnels, and Gazans as well are living in rubble. And the Hamas leaders in Qatar are living like rich, entitled sheikhs.
Yeah. You know what's so interesting about this, Ruthie, is that we've been down this road of peace talks so many times. At the end of the day, everything seems to be in a pause at the moment, especially with Iran. But then you got Syria problems. You got negotiations going with Qatar on a possible ceasefire with Hamas. All this is doing is, in my opinion, I'm just looking at it from over here on small town America, but it feels like it's just time for people to reload. Ceasefires haven't worked. I don't know why this one would work. I understand the president's motive for peace, but at the end of the day, there's two things that have to happen. Hamas has to go away, and so does the regime in Iran, and somehow we don't get that.
Well, here's the thing, Perry. I think, far be it from me to psychoanalyze President Trump, but from what I've observed over the years, during his first term and again now, is that he likes to say flowery things, you know. He called al-Julani, the new head of the regime in Syria that replaced the Assad regime. He said, he's a good-looking guy. I mean, Trump likes to talk like that. He also likes to use the word peace and yes, and things are going great, and this guy is great, and that guy is great, okay? He talks. But when it comes to action that is necessary, he acts. And therefore, I don't take to heart when he says all these chummy things about terrorists or supposedly former terrorists. What counts are actions. That's number one. Number two, and we saw what he did with Iran. We saw he was talking about, we're gonna negotiate, we're gonna make peace, and we're gonna negotiate with this one and that one and the other one. That's fine, but he also made it clear we will give everything a chance, but if it doesn't work, we take action. And therefore, I trust him, okay? I trust him not to be totally duped by just by some Middle Easterner who's very charming and very smooth. I think Trump he may on the surface talk like that, but again, the question is what he's going to do. Now, it's not that everything is quiet because nothing is happening. Everything that is quiet right now, I believe that's because a lot is happening. And when when there's no leaks available and things like that, you know that important things are happening. And we saw that with the attack on the Iranian nuclear facilities. The worrisome part today is that in Syria, starting from Sunday, the last 3 days or so, the regime forces, now this is al-Julani, who was removed from the terrorist list and has been given money and respect by President Trump, his forces have been massacring the Druze community in Syria. And when I say at first, we didn't really know, are they really massacring them? But yes, they're killing them, they're humiliating them, which in the Middle East is a very big deal, shaving off their beards. That's kind of reminiscent of what Nazis did to Jews by cutting their side locks and things like that. So humiliating them. Apparently there's raping going on as well. That I cannot verify. That I read in reports from Druze on the internet. That's one thing. And the other is, and so they are committing all kinds of war crimes right now. And Israel, because of Israel's very loyal and amazing Druze community, is now conducting airstrikes over on al-Julani targets in Syria and warning him that if he doesn't stop this immediately, there'll be consequences. And more, in addition, there are about 1,000 Israeli Druze who have run over the border to Syria. Now, you keep in mind, I think Americans don't grasp how tiny Israel is and how close all its borders are. Okay, so if you're living in northern Israel, you can just walk to Syria and walk to Lebanon, and if you're in southern Israel, you can walk a few minutes and you're in Gaza. Okay, it's really, these are distances that are hard to fathom when you're surrounded by these incredible enemies. Now, al-Julani supposedly was no longer an enemy. The Assad regime was an enemy, and al-Julani has been pretending, or I don't know, I'm saying he's pretending to no longer be a member of ISIS and Al-Qaeda and has reformed. I'll believe it when I see it, because what is going on there right now is horrendous. And Israel owes it to its very loyal Druze population to defend them and help and protect their relatives in Syria from being massacred.
Wow, so much here to uncover or to unpack. Okay, let me come back to a simple question. What is the mood of the citizens in Israel right now as it relates to finishing off Hamas and hostages?
Well, if you're going to rely on polls, which I hate doing because you know what polls are like, right? It all depends on how a question is asked.
Right.
So most of the public, when asked, would you like Israel in order to get all the hostages back? There are now 20 living hostages and 30 dead ones remaining in Gaza. There were 251 hostages on October 7th, 2023. And through a series of ceasefires and certain rescue operations, etc., at this point, there are now 50 remaining, 30 of whom are presumed dead, okay? the Israeli public says do anything to get them out, anything, okay? And so in polls, you'll have a huge percentage of Israelis who say end the war and get the hostages out. That doesn't take into account that Hamas never said just end the war and get the hostages out unless it remains in power. So when you ask the same Israeli public, would you want Hamas to remain in power after the war? Everyone says no, no, no.
Okay.
Because Hamas has vowed to commit on October 7th again and again and again.
Okay, one other quick question. I thought, well, I shouldn't say it was at least looked at, that possible that Syria would become a member of the Accord. But now with this scrimmage going on, it does put into question the leadership, doesn't it?
Well, of course. I was very doubtful about that from the beginning. But, you know, I have to say, it's always worth a try, you could say, and President Trump seemed optimistic. The mistake here is the idea that somehow if you just reason with certain types of people and you just give them money and you just say, okay, now we won't consider you terrorists and now we'll remove sanctions from you and now get about the business of governing and then you can join normalization accords with Israel. It all sounds so lovey-dovey. But I'm saying this guy is a terrorist. Now, anybody who is a proven terrorist for years, decades, was on also the State Department's list of terrorists. Mm-hmm. You want to tell me that in the snap of a finger, he's changed his stripes? Well, I don't believe it.
Right.
That's not to say that you can't give people a chance to change, because after all, the Abraham Accords did happen, and it's with countries that didn't have normalization with Israel, and now they do. So, okay, but I think it was a little too hasty with al-Julani in Syria.
Yeah. I get that. Okay, one other quick question before I take a break. Why hasn't the Abrahamic Accord flexed a little bit more muscle in all this?
Well, because you see, the other countries other than Israel, when the October 7th massacre happened and the war in Gaza began, the Abraham Accords partners, that's the Gulf states and Morocco, and you have Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates. When that happened, they took a step back and said, we better see who wins this war, because if Israel doesn't defeat Hamas, we've attached ourselves to the wrong horse in the Middle East. And the same thing applying to the United States, because then President Biden was in power and they were thinking, oh my goodness, we made a mistake, perhaps. And so when you ask why didn't they step in, they were hedging their bets, that's why.
Okay, let me take a quick break. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, you can check out Ruthie's writings and her contributing there to the Jewish News Syndicate. Also check out her time with as a co-host there of Israel's Undiplomatic, which is on the JNS TV channel as well. You can go to jns.org. We'll be right back.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry, LLC can help you protect your property with adequate fire brush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Baptism is merely a symbol of the spiritual reality. It declares what happens spiritually when we embrace Christ. When I go under the water, I identify with his death and with his burial. Because my friend, in God's eyes, it was me hanging on the cross. Jesus Christ died as my representative. He died as your representative. And when we go under the waters of baptism, I am fully identifying with his death and burial. Coming out of the water, I identify with his resurrection. He came up out of the grave, he received a new life, and death no longer has a hold on him. And my friend, when I embraced Jesus Christ, I came up out of the grave of sin, and sin no longer has a hold on me.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Welcome back, and always an honor to have with us Ruthie Bloom. She's a former advisor there inside the office of the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. She's an award-winning columnist, senior contributor to and editor there at the Jewish News Syndicate, co-host of the television program Israel Undiplomatic. All of this, you can go to jns.org and check it out. Again, Ruthie, thank you for your time. A little late there, but thank you. You always give it to us, so we appreciate it. I'm just trying to figure out a little bit on Iran. It's said that the nuclear program has been crippled. We've gone from destroyed to crippled. What does that tell you?
Well, does it really matter one way or the other? I mean, even if you use the word destroyed, do we know exactly what that means? Is it completely destroyed? No. Is anything? The question is, how crippled is it? And how much time does it buy you? It is severely, severely damaged. That we do know. And in fact, President Trump said today, it's very interesting, by the way, this particular thing, I'm listening carefully to this. He said, when asked by reporters, well, what about a deal with Iran? Are you making a deal with Iran? And he said, well, they're anxious to. I'm just paraphrasing, of course. They're anxious to, but I'm in no hurry. We completely, we demolished their nukes or something like that. And what was he actually saying? He was saying, oh, see, the tables are turned. They think that we're in a hurry. They're the ones who better be begging. Okay, they're the ones who need to want some kind of deal so that we don't go in and ruin more sites and more missile launchers, and before we allow Israel to do it. See what I mean? He was giving a clear message when he said that to the reporters. Like, I'm in no hurry.
Do you think it's inevitable for continued action inside Iran, either by the United States or Israel?
I do. Yes, I do. And I think that it will be by Israel. Of course, this last sort of joint operation where Israel first launched a surprise attack, and then the United States came in and blitzed those very, very difficult nuclear facilities with B-2 bombers that Israel does not have and with payloads that Israel doesn't have. But here's the thing. There are Congress people who believe that Israel should be allowed to purchase that weaponry from the United States in the event that it needs to go it alone and do another, or at least have the threat of it towards Iran. But I have no doubt that Iran is already trying to rearm. Iran's proxies are doing it. It's proxies in Yemen. We've got the Houthis and we've got Hezbollah in Lebanon. We have a ceasefire, so-called, with Hezbollah. But every day we've got to be attacking missile launchers and weapons production and terrorists. So I find it hard to believe that this is the last we're seeing of military action in Iran.
Is regime change inevitable?
It's an interesting word, inevitable. I believe it is, although that terrible regime has been in power since 1979, since the Green Revolution, with the ouster of the Shah. Now, in large historical terms, that's a blip. So obviously, there's going to be a point at which we're looking back, and we see that this regime of these ayatollahs, also many of them are quite old, and the people of Iran are very disgruntled because of their economy and because the regime spend more time trying to build up its terror network than building, a proper civil society. So I think it's inevitable, but I would never dare to guess when that's going to happen.
Wow. We never, as you know, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was in town. He made the media rounds. He met with the president. They had an amazing exchange there in the White House when the media was let in. And he got up and he reached across the table and gave the letter of recommendation for the Nobel Peace Prize. But we never really heard anything else from those meetings. What does that tell you?
That tells me that something very important is going on, and they are keeping sealed lips about it. The more talk there is, the less that goes on. And it was, there was a whole lovey-dovey, warm bath going on there, which was nice. And not only nice, it was also important. It sends a message to the whole world about how the United States treats its allies and how it treats its enemies, etc. And also how friendly President Trump is with Israel. It's a great message. But the fact that we don't know details of what came out, and there was a meeting between President Trump, Prime Minister Netanyahu, and Vice President J.D. Vance that lasted, if I'm not mistaken, something like 2 hours behind closed doors. There were no reporters, and there were also no other members of either team. And we don't know what went on in that meeting. And that's good that we don't, because that means something actually went on. That's my view of it.
Just a little backyard politics. What's happening in the Knesset these days? It seems like there's some movement going on.
Oh, yeah. Well, just today, let's put it this way. We have Orthodox parties that resigned from the government. A couple yesterday and then another one today, leaving Netanyahu. Now, what does that mean? He's got a coalition. It's not like America. We have a parliamentary system. There's coalition governments. And they bolted because they felt that they were, that the person negotiating a draft bill for them, for the army, because these are people who traditionally did not serve in the army, and a compromise was reached and a draft of a bill was created, and they claim that the representative of the government that was there to negotiate with them pulled a stunt and changed the whole agreement. Anyway, so they left in a huff, which is very bad because the last thing you need in the middle of all these wars going on is to have to call for elections and have election campaigns, etc. But I'll tell you one thing. They didn't say they would vote against the government in the parliament, so we'll see. And also, the Knesset, which is Israel's parliament, is about to go on recess. And when it goes on recess, that's for several weeks, nearly 3 months. And in that time, I think Netanyahu is hoping to be able to bridge the gap there and prevent new elections. In any case, his term, the term of this government officially ends towards the end of 2026. That's not so far off. We're talking about another year. There were supposed to be elections another year from now. Anyway. Or at least this would be the period that the election campaign is going on next year.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. It's very bad, but I have to say it was bad on all their parts, the parties, and also the person who pulled the wool over their eyes. That was really not right either.
So. The end result here is, or at least maybe game changer here, is not to have an election, not call for an election. Let's let it happen a year from now.
Well, even whatever is going on right now, war, peace, whatever, that was the official time. You're supposed to have a 4-year term. Now, in a parliamentary system, it often doesn't last 4 years. Sometimes it does, but it's not like in the United States where that's the term and that's it. Here, that's the term until somebody bolts your coalition and then says, sorry, and then your government falls and then you have to call for elections. But we'll see. I really don't know what's going to happen with that. It's very disturbing that at this particular moment we should be dealing with electoral politics.
Hey, welcome to America.
Well, exactly.
Okay.
At least one thing you have to say. At least there's a president and he's there. Well, of course, with Biden, it didn't work out that way because he was going to run again. And then there was the switcheroo with Kamala Harris, et cetera. But basically, you know that President Trump was inaugurated in January and that he's got 4 years.
Yep. One other kind of a 30,000-foot view question. How do citizens of Israel view the rising openness of anti-Semitism in the United States?
We are all horrified by it, other than the left in Israel. And the left has been fanning those flames by going on foreign television, and I'm talking about former generals in the IDF, two former prime ministers, going on the BBC and CNN and giving interviews to the New York Times, basically saying horrific things about the country. Their hatred of Netanyahu is so great that they are willing to pull the entire country and the Jewish people down with them. It's like Trump derangement syndrome. And in this case, though, you have to think about it. You have, Christiane Amanpour on CNN gleefully interviewing a former prime minister who says that Israel's committing genocide. Hey, he's a former prime minister, and even he is saying it. So sane Israelis are horrified by the anti-Semitism that has exploded all over, and the left ought to be ashamed of itself for colluding with that.
Yeah, I guess, our brain's on tilt because primarily this is coming from universities, certainly fueled there, and we're seeing it openly in the streets. And then, of course, there's a shock going on in New York City with Mamdani being elected there as to be the Democratic nominee for mayor, who's an open anti-Israel anything. I mean, it's just amazing what's happening in America, and I'm just wondering how the citizens over there see all this, and especially you in journalism.
Well, they see it as a very bad and dangerous thing, especially with all kinds of boycotts, and at the UN, it's all over the place. And even more disturbing is, the horseshoe, where we've been fighting this with the far left and all the Mamdani types and et cetera over these years. And then now we have the Tucker Carlson anti-Semite wing of the Republican Party of MAGA, so it's like, hey guys, great, now there's something you can agree on.
Yeah.
It's very upsetting, actually.
Ruthie, thank you for your time. We value it greatly and look forward to many visits. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, go to jns.org. That's where you can certainly pick up some of our columns and check out the television program Israel Undiplomatic there on their television channel. That's jns.org, which stands for the Jewish News Syndicate. Thank you, my friend. As always, good to see you.
Thank you so much, Perry.
Bye-bye.
July is Wild About Wildlife Month, and it's a wild night every Wednesday. With kids' tickets half off at Hellgate Jet Boat Excursions. Every Wednesday, it's a wild river experience with exciting jet boat spins and dinner at the Hellgate River Lodge. Plus, kids get their